Any special guests for tonight?
John Strong of Strongwear is scheduled to appear.
And some guy named Stevie Straw. I don't know who this weirdo is, but
I'm on.
I see online. We're online.
The Circle of Doom.
Okie dokie. Go with the intro. This is CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color computer. Streaming live on YouTube and Roku, available as a podcast and enjoyed the world over. And now, here's your host.
To CoCoTALK. I'm your announcer. And hello, stars.
Hello.
Hello.
Are we Hollywood Squares or what?
That's right. I'm waiting for my squares to pop up on the board. Here we are. Handsome men all.
More like the Brady Bunch.
I disagree.
Speaking of hosts, is Grant Leighty going to be joining us, or I guess not?
Well, he did say that he was out of the air. He was away from home tonight. That's why he couldn't stream it.
Okay.
So I don't know if he's going to be here or not, to tell you the truth.
Well, Grant Leighty's always streaming, even when we're not on the air. So that'll be his introduction.
Especially when we're on the air.
Especially when we're on the air. And let's go from the top left on the board. We tried to build a wall on the Canadian border, but Canada wouldn't pay for it.
No
Mr.
choice.
L. Curtis Boyle.
Well, you made it out of ice and it melted over the last summer, so that's why. Hi, everyone.
And Curtis, how are you doing? And do you have any updates as we go around the horn?
No, not really. I'm getting ready for a business trip down to Texas, so I'll be leaving Monday morning, assuming there's not too much freezing rain. We're supposed to be getting some here, I guess, and right through North and South Dakota over the next day. So I don't know how well that's going to go for my drive.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering about that, Curtis. The weather. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to get really cold after that, so I'm hoping that the roads will clear up a bit, and it's actually plus temperatures here for a bit, so I'm hoping it melts off some of the freezing rain, because the rain is supposed to go first, then it gets into plus temperatures, so I'm hoping it'll kind of clear the roads off, but we'll see. I'll be putting my Canadian winter driving skills to the test.
Okay, well, I'm shopping for shorts here in LA, but that's a great update. TomC, our illustrious engineer. How are you doing, Tom, at the big board?
Oh, we're doing okay. Just trying to keep things on the tracks here. Trying to keep the dumpster fire to a minimum.
Good luck with that.
Good luck with that. Tim Franklin, always in the live chat, now live and in person. Tim, how are you doing? And can we ask you a few questions and get to know you a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I finally figured out how to turn this thing on and get my video going. I'm glad to be here.
Great. And what's your story with the CoCo, and how did it begin, and how did you get to this point?
Well, I actually started with a CoCo 1 back when it first came out. Kind of had the one CoCo for a long time until it finally pooped out on me. Went and updated to a CoCo 3. Then kind of got bored with it and got married and then divorced, and everything went into the closet. And just, I'd say probably about 3 years ago, I finally decided to dig it out. Actually, what happened was I saw Roger Taylor do that CoCo Pack project. I thought it was cool, so I dug up my CoCo, and I had done some software for my company that it was basically a SD card imaging software, and I kind of hacked it together for Roger, and he kind of used it for that. But it was kind of a hack, and it didn't quite work too well. Then from that point on, I got involved in Gary Becker's FPGAs, and that kind of started a whole issue with me, because now I got like FPGAs all over the place. it's kind of become a hobby. And then other than that, I'm an electrical engineer for a company on the south side of Chicago. We make the machines that make McDonald's hamburgers. Yay.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that and all your chicken McNuggets, all made on our machines, Oscar Mayer bacon, that kind of stuff. And let's see, what else? That's about it.
I got a lot of keyboard.
Yeah, I'm a
keyboards back
musician.
there.
I'm a musician also. I play in a band. That's why I'm on. Usually I'm playing.
So you'll be at CoCo Fest then, huh?
Oh, absolutely. I play guitar. Guitar is my main instrument, and that's why I mentioned to Curtis the other day that I'm going to bring my guitar and we're going to have a jam session.
That's why he's got
that sounds good.
keyboards behind him.
I'm hoping Paul Thayer can make it out, and we'll get if Alan Huffman can make it, he plays guitar too.
Well, there you go. Got Stevie on drums.
Yeah, and singing. I don't sing.
Yeah.
Curtis
and
will
Rick
dust
Adams might
off.
play some guitar too. So very good.
Curtis, you'll dust off your old mullet wigs and throw that on.
Oh no, that was natural. That wasn't a wig back then.
It was vicious rumors. Nick Marotta, the man so nice they named him twice. How are you, Nick?
Great, I'm great. How are you?
Doing well. You mentioned actually before we got on the call that your original interview, there were some things that you forgot to say. Is anything?
Well, it was more I kind of went off the rails. I was talking about MAME arcade and stuff. I was so nervous. I don't know why, but because we were talking about emulation, and Steve Stroh brought up MAME for emulation. I started talking about how I use MAME for arcade stuff. But yeah, I had a CoCo back in the day, a CoCo 2, a CoCo 1, a CoCo 2, and a CoCo 3, and I did a lot of programming and a lot of gaming. And it inspired my love of computers, and I became a software developer, and I love tech to this day. So probably a pretty familiar story.
Great. Well, you talked a little bit too much about the MAME, but other than that, really like that update.
Thanks.
Just teasing.
And I play ukulele too. Since we're talking about musical abilities.
Another person for the jam session. There you go.
Next up on the panel, unless his wife calls him to dinner, he'll be here for a while. The master of the 3D printer, John Strong. How are you from Strongware?
Oh, not doing too bad. Still a little bit under the weather down here yet, but getting better. And still playing around with joysticks and working on developing those. Remodified it so it actually is get the right and lefty switch on it. And so that's feeling pretty nice. Was hoping to have those wired up the demo and didn't quite make it that far. The analog version again, first pass, and needs another pass of the printing, but coming along pretty good. So hope to have some of this stuff available at CoCo Fest for people.
Cool.
And
Great.
I've been around CoCo for a long time, and been trekking to the CoCo Fest since the first one. Didn't make them all, but hey.
Great. Well, we're looking forward to that joystick, especially if it has that switch between right and left.
And Stevie especially, because maybe he'll actually get past level 2 now.
That's right.
I still think we'll have to hack it.
Well, great to have you here, John. And along the squares, our next square, if you ask him nicely, he'll show you his Python. The writer of Pi Drivewire, Mikey Furman. How are you doing?
Hey, Rob, how's it going? I'm doing pretty well. I'm just playing with the Dragon over here. So
Did you get the video problem fixed?
I did.
What was the issue?
I don't know exactly what the issue is, but it seems like the RF modulator is not working very well. Fortunately, it has a composite video port in the back, so that's working great.
Oh, okay.
Did you use the Stockmaster method for video repair?
No, I did not beat it. I was very nice to it.
Carrot versus the stick option. Sounds good.
Great. Well, glad to have you here, Mikey. I see that next to Ron's got some sunglasses on, so the future must be so bright that he has to wear shades. If Tandy made it, he owns it. How are you doing, Ron?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Hey, I was going through some of my stuff and I came across my, I don't know if you can see it, Greater Toledo Color Computer Club. These are things we used to mail out, our newsletter. Found a whole bunch of them, and they're awesome. They have all kinds of tips, tricks, and things in there, pictures, and we'll be sharing some of that stuff on my Ron's Garage. If you get a chance to stop by, I'll be taking some pictures and putting it up of that old stuff from the 80s when all we had was the CoCo to do our, what do you call it, presentation work on. And it was pretty crude, but interesting to read what was going on at the time and how much, if you wanted to get a hard drive, $500 would get you.
Not much.
20 megabytes.
I remember when it was 5 meg, it was $1,000.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, some people just dreamed about it. It was probably something I was dreaming about. Basically was happy with the 128K when it came out, and then 512K was like, wow. And now we got 2 meg now, and in some cases 8 meg on our motherboards. That's pretty cool.
Great. So we'll look for that being posted on Ron's Garage, the Toledo Color Computer Club.
Mm-hmm.
And I see also to the right, the man with the apple in the background, Mr. Mark D. Overholzer. How are you doing, Mark?
Hello. Is this thing on?
That was my applause. It was way too much applause for Mark Overholzer. Okay. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Yeah, long-time Apple guy, short-term CoCo guy. Glad to be here. Hey, all you going to volunteer for contributing to the new rainbow, please get your entries in. We have a couple and we're expecting a few more.
There went one of my news items.
Was it? Good. Excellent. Okay.
Yeah. The deadline's January 31st still?
Yes, it is. It is. That was
and how do people contact you to get
Facebook, Discord. You can email me. I'm on the CoCo mailing list. They can send it to me that way.
Smoke signals.
Oh yeah, smoke signals. Yeah, especially in the South.
Mm-hmm.
As long as it's not gimme chip smoke, that's bad.
Blue smoke.
Anyway, so yeah, let's see. Other than that, I own a bunch of CoCos now, almost as many as I do apples. Strangely enough.
Hey, now that I'm live, I have to say hi to Mark. He always says hi to me on YouTube.
Hi, Tim.
Hi, Mark.
And I see a man that I might need some introduction to, but others don't. Tony Capolini is live on the panel. Tony, I don't know you personally, but how are you doing?
How you doing,
I'm
Tony?
doing fine. How you doing? I'm okay. Hey. It's only the second time I've been on CoCoTALK, so I'm kind of a, what's the word? Lurker?
Newbie.
Rookie, something like that?
Rookie, yeah. All of that stuff. I'm in California, same time zone as Mark. Hey, Mark. Mark and I were at VCF West last year at the same time, but didn't know it.
Yeah,
we were probably in the same room at the same time.
You know, I forgot that you were down there. You know, it's like you jumped into the CoCo again about a month or so before, and it's like I didn't think about Tony. It's like I knew Tim Linder was around somewhere, and I found Mikey, but anyway.
Mikey, who's Mikey?
Mikey. He's the guy that's 2 squares away.
You know, Mikey.
Is he also a
2 squares
West
away?
Coaster?
Yeah.
Oh,
He
cool.
works at Mountain View.
I believe Mikey likes it.
Yes, I
I'm
do.
in San
Mountain
Jose.
View, huh?
No, I'm actually in San Jose, but
Oh, so am I.
Silicon Valley area.
Yeah, I'm in San Jose too. Homie.
Huh?
Anyway,
Homie.
we should all meet up this coming year.
Oh, yeah.
They announced the dates, by the way.
Yeah.
They announced the dates for this year.
For VCS West, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's the first weekend of August again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, Rob, I haven't seen your name before either. Are you any relation to the Inman brothers who wrote the book on CoCo graphics in assembly language?
No, I think you're referring to Don Inman.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
I
I don't know Kurt. I will say no, because that would be the truth. But if I come up with a better story someday, maybe I'll change that. But no, there's no relation to the Inman brothers.
Okay.
And if you want to win our game, Tony, Mikey is diagonally to your left. As you know, you can win the Hollywood Squares from the top, from the side, or diagonally. John Laurie, who works at Apple,
howdy,
but loves the CoCo. John, how are you doing?
Pretty good. Got into the CoCo when I was about 18. I had a couple of friends who were into the CoCo. I was actually into the Model 1 at the time, but they kind of introduced me to the CoCo, and I also worked for Radio Shack back in those days, so I had a lot of access to them. And eventually bought a CoCo, and after I got the PC came along and time went by, and I kind of bumped into emulation and kind of got back into the CoCo through emulation, and snooping around on the internet, finding groups and things like this here. And
do you have one now?
Right now, no, I don't. I actually had given away a full CoCo 3 multi-pack interface, RS-232 interface. I had pretty much all kinds of stuff. Never had the X-Pad, but as far as I had a 2-disc system, disc controller, RS-232 pack, multi-pack, CoCo 3, which was 128, I think. I'm not sure if I had upgraded to 512. I don't think I had a 512 unit. And after many years had gone by, it was just sitting in the corner collecting dust. I had never had it set up or used it, so I wound up giving it to a friend of mine who had young children, and I thought it would be good for them to to get some use out of it and learn about computers a little bit. So I gave it away many years ago, which I regret now.
Yep. You're telling my story, man.
Those kids are grown up now.
They are. Yes,
yeah.
They are. Mm-hmm.
Who knew that we'd be talking about this thing in 30 years? It's like
right.
We have no idea.
I still have my Model 1. I didn't give that away yet.
Are you planning on getting a real CoCo 3 in the future again? Or?
Yeah, I'm actually saving up to buy a house, but once that's done, I can start buying toys and CoCo 3.
I can't believe you're prioritizing a house over a CoCo.
A CoCo is just a little bit cheaper.
That's true.
House will be the place to store his CoCos.
And if you get a Dista 1 meg upgrade, you can actually use it as a heater for your house too. So
that sounds good. But yeah, actually, Nick's right there about the house too, because I do want to have like an entire room, because I have a PC, I have a Mac, and then I have 2 other Macs that I use for work that don't belong to me, but I have possession of. And I have, I want to have a color computer. I have the Model 1, and I bought one of those little Maximite, which I believe Nick has written some software for.
Yeah.
And
Vegemite? What?
Vegemite. Yeah, that was a Vegemite. Yeah, that's the Australian version.
That's a vegetarian version of that.
Yeah. So when you added up all these computers that I have, I definitely want to have a computer room where I can not only work, but then, have all my computers set up. So I'm envisioning just building a desk around the whole room and having everything set up.
It's a good thing.
Great. Well, also on the panel is terrifying program OmniStar has recently become self-aware. You can pick up his book, My Adventures with Marty Goodman, a memoir, now in paperback. Mr. Rick Adams.
Lies, all lies.
How are you,
much
Rick?
going on here.
I thought you
just fine.
OmniStar if OmniStar isn't self-aware, what is the latest status?
Nothing much is happening with any of my projects right now because I've just been getting over some health problems. So minor things, but I'm hoping to get back into it soon. So
get well soon.
Okay. That's right.
Updates later.
Yeah.
Yep. That's right.
So you called it an OmniStar virus, did you?
On the panel, also Mr. Mark B. Mark B, how are you doing?
Oh, just fine. I had to go pick up the wife from the airport, so a little late today.
And is the wife leaving or coming back?
Coming back.
You sound disappointed.
You get him in trouble.
Don't say it.
Yeah, I wouldn't answer that live on the air.
Yeah, I'm patching it too.
Hey, I got
anything else?
New acquisitions this week.
What
shirts came in.
Nice.
And the mini mug.
Oh, cool.
You went all out.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll be using that exact same mug on my trip, actually.
You know, you keep buying stuff like that, Stevie will be back.
Well, I better quit then, huh?
Yeah, what's the return policy?
Oh, is Stevie doing a shutdown until he gets his the money he wants? Is that what the deal is?
That's what we heard. Did we hear that?
Yeah, I hear that works out really well.
$5 billion
really
he's asking for, right?
Build that wall.
Sorry for the politics, guys.
No problem. It's beyond politics at some point. It's just funny. OS9, the man who was involved from the very beginning, I'm just not sure how much I'm going to turn it over to Bill Noble because he needs to talk. Hi, Bill.
Hello.
Hey, Bill.
How's it going?
You
How's
were
everybody?
involved, though, with Nitrous 09 from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Yes, I was.
Actually, he was into it a good week or two before I was because I didn't think he could do it.
Uh-huh.
And then he proved me wrong, and then I joined him.
Anything going on with you, Bill, personally, professionally, Nitrous 09, ease of use?
Oh, yeah. Definitely is going on. Got a new boot editor coming. That's going to be, like, as they say, ease of use.
Yeah, and full GUI for it too, right?
Yep.
Awesome.
Great. Will we have in another show? Will we have a demonstration?
It's going to be a little bit for demonstration-wise, but Curtis got to see a screenshot.
Yep.
The preliminary.
Early prototype, I guess you'd call it, or.
Yeah, very early prototype.
Yeah, it's a pretty big project. I mean, the reason that nobody's ever made a fully ease of use GUI to make a boot file editor is because that gets a bit complicated. And with stuff like DriveWire, which kind of mixes and matches stuff across file managers and things, it's actually more complicated than it was back in the day. So Bill's got to make sure that everything works nice and cleanly and easily, and it makes sure that it links everything properly so you're not accidentally matching a wrong driver with the wrong descriptor and stuff. So he's going to make it ease of use and idiot proof.
Well, that's a toughie.
Yes. Tell me about Iran.
I'm one of the idiots that'll test it for you. Okay.
Monkey on the keyboard.
Yeah.
Well, my biggest problem right now is classifying DriveWire because it's so broad. It's not even really one particular thing in hardware or software.
No, I mean, it's like literally, it's like a virtual window file manager. It's a MIDI driver. It's a serial port driver. It's a drive, hard drive and floppy drive both. Simulator. It's really hard to classify that and which features you want, etc. That's why I didn't tackle it. I'm letting you do it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
It's just a network transport with multiple protocols.
Well, I'm calling it a remote system right now.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate because that covers pretty well all the things it does in a very broad sense.
And Mikey has a flavor of it, huh?
Yeah, Pi drive wire.
Mm-hmm.
Mikey, I can't remember. Are you doing extensions to DriveWire too? There was some talk of that at some point, of adding some things to it.
I added the next version of PyDriveWire is going to have a web server that you can use to control X. But I haven't. I mean, my server definitely does things differently than the Java one in certain areas. So I don't know if you'll call those extensions, but kind of, sorta.
Okay. Well, make sure you keep Bill abreast of anything, like if you add new protocols or new things to it, so that he can make sure that gets covered in his editor.
Cool things coming, huh?
Yep.
Awesome.
In the live chat, Al Hartman from Jersey is here. He says at the beginning, before the show started, I hear the train in the distance, I think referring to the train wreck that's coming. Thank you, Al, for joining. Retro Innovations is trolling from his lair. He says, so much for, as usual, so much for constructive, intelligent discourse this evening. He says, harumph. And also Jim's, if it weren't for the single day of horrid squawking from the channel on Saturday, it would be bliss. So our apologies go out to Jim Brain at Retro.
No, we don't apologize for that at all. We like driving him nuts.
As well as Chad Cunnington from Down Under, Nick Marotta, Chris Cromwell, Al Hartman, Retro Innovations, James Jones, and Adam Coolidge. So welcome everybody in the live chat. Wanted to introduce a man that put How Does It Feel, I'm Still Believing into the national lexicon from our friends at the North, D, Bruce Moore. How are you, D?
Well, I somehow managed to stay in my house for 24 hours, and I'm just waiting for the ice to come off the windows, and I'll branch out tomorrow, I think.
Just wait till you see what's coming.
Yeah, the freezing.
Yeah. Bill and Curtis, they give me fair warning of what's on its way. What is it now? Like ice storm, is it, or what?
Well, it's snowing right now. We're supposed to get 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts and then freezing rain tomorrow.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Just
Let's head your way.
Curtis, you need a sail on your car when you take
How
off.
does it feel? I'm still freezing. Where's Stevie? I need a hero
There you go.
to shovel my snow.
I need a heater.
Group song.
Or
Everybody
a heater, yeah. No, I'm doing good. Thanks.
Doing good. Any update? Is CoCo Forever, is that in the can? Are we moving on to other things?
Yeah, well, CoCo Forever is season complete. So to find out how it could have been, how it should have been, all that stuff. But yeah, moving on. Well, I got a little. What's that?
I just picked up the entire season. So.
Oh, great! Right on, Bill. Thank you. Yeah. I guess my latest little project, I hope will end up airing on the show today. So.
Okay.
How's that son of yours doing?
Oh, Jacob's good. Yeah. He was working on Rampage the other day. Popstar Pilot's too easy for him now. So.
How's he doing on Contras?
Contras, you know what? I don't know. I think maybe the bugs of it were giving him trouble or something.
Yeah, it does have a few places where it can crash.
Yeah, he kind of moved on from that one, but right, yeah, Rampage. The thing is, for him to get a high score on Rampage, well, no, I don't know what it takes to get a high score, but he can literally play it for 6 hours straight if he doesn't run out of steam. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Talent.
Yeah. Well, he also got some inside tips from the developer at last CoCo Fest, so that was pretty handy. Yeah.
I don't know. That kind of stuff never seems to help Steve, so that still gives.
Well, hey, Steve has to listen though.
Oh, right. Silly me.
Well,
hey, that's Grant Leighty down at the bottom there. Look.
Oh, the internet's own.
Wow.
Grant Leighty.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey, thanks, Grant, for being on time for the show.
Oh yeah, you're welcome.
Appreciate that.
No problem. This is
Yeah.
why we had you
You had
guys.
to take a potty break or something first? Is that what happened? Or
Are you the holder of that dinosaur spread there?
Dino Wars?
Yeah, is that yours?
No, that is not mine. I don't know whose that was. Jason, Coco Man might know,
Oh,
but it was definitely not mine.
It was donated to Dino Wars the musical, I believe, touring now off Broadway. Down
So
Under.
I will try my hardest not to pee live on the show today.
Okay.
thanks for the
All right.
consideration.
Don't make them
That's
laugh
right.
too hard then.
Brought to you by Depends.
Will he pee? Depends.
Oh, jeez.
this is
Coming
why
live from his box seats down at the Australian Open, Mr. the inventor of cosmic aliens right behind me, Mr. Nicholas Marentes. How are you, Nick?
Good day, everyone. Not too bad. I've been busy doing a fair bit of programming lately. Did a bit more work on my Gunstar, and I think I've uploaded 2 blog updates in the last week and a half, and I've got another one coming up very soon, maybe even after this show. But later on in CoreDUMP, I've made a video as well, so I will show that so you can actually see what I've done rather than hear what I've done or read what I've done. You can actually see what I've done so far. So we'll put that on later.
you've been motivated lately, huh?
Yeah.
Good.
So,
And we can say, look at what you've done.
Well, when you hear this sound,
that's right. That's what I've done.
It's not done till the paperwork's finished.
Sign here.
That's what you do.
you said doo-doo.
I said do.
That's right.
No,
Jason Reichart, the Coco Man, you've invented so many things and named them after Australian products. What's up next for you in product naming?
Product naming. Well, I think I'm going to stick with the Australian-sounding names. Why not? You make one bad joke, you just then you got to just stick with it. But,
so when is the didgeridoo coming out?
Well, it'll come out as soon as I figure out what the heck it is.
I think it's some sort of sound card option.
No, the didgeridoo is going to be a sound card option, but you have to put your own wax paper in it.
You have to blow into it to make it work.
Do you put a Cuban in the end?
I think it's just going to be a rebranded kazoo, maybe. But just keep well, of course, real life's gotten in the way lately, but just keeping up the switcheroos and the wallabies. Not sure what's next, but I know this year will be my second CoCo Fest, so I'm looking forward to that. And that's about it right now.
You were at Penn Fest, weren't you?
I was at Penn Fest in '99 and 2000, and this past year at where Nick was there too, and then this past year was at Tandy Assembly and CoCo Fest. And if we want to go through the whole thing, as seen in the world of 68 micros and G&D software.
Hey, Jason, you know that stuff they use to retrobrite or whatever? Why not package that in a container and make it like Vegemite and then,
Well, the thing with that is you can go to like one of those beauty supply stores and you can get it already. It's got a name.
Wow.
So it's already pre-made, and that's kind of one of those things. I haven't tried it myself, but it's kind of one of those things where your mileage may vary, and
It's great for the teeth.
All that peroxide, I think it would be.
it'll turn your fingers white.
Oh yeah, I definitely would recommend wearing gloves. I mean, it's basically a high concentration of hydrogen peroxide, and the stuff that you can get at the beauty supply, like Sally's Beauty Supply or one of those type of places. I guess it's kind of like a cream. It's like a creamy peroxide that sticks to it better. Otherwise, if you're using just the liquid stuff, you'd have to submerge it. From what I've heard, like I said, I don't have any personal experience with it yet, but maybe when I fix my original CoCo that I have back from when I got as a kid in 1984, my original CoCo 2, maybe once I get that electronically sound, maybe I'll think about retrowriting it and do a full restoration on it and a CoCo VGA and that sort of thing. But we'll see.
Nick Marentes is Vegemite. What color is it?
Black.
Oh, so that wouldn't work.
It's the opposite. It's an anti-retro bright.
Okay.
Hey, Jason, Javier down in Florida is the Apple expert on retrobrighting, so pick his brain.
Who was that?
Javier Revilla down in Florida.
Oh, Javier. Okay, yeah. My connection broke up a little bit. So okay.
Yeah. Javier is the Apple retrobrighting expert. Ask him.
And the 8-bit guy has some good videos where he's tried different techniques.
I've seen some of his techniques. Some things turned out well. Some things didn't turn out so good. So.
Yeah, in one case he used gas.
But that didn't do anything.
Yeah, Grant Leighty has tried that approach. Hasn't worked out.
Methane?
Gasoline gas?
Gas and sunlight.
Gasoline, you mean?
No, gas is in clear.
Natural gas.
It's
very organic.
It's ionic or something.
No. Hold on here. It wasn't me.
Yeah, somebody look it up.
Oh.
Bionic gas.
Okay, well, let's.
It is after dark, and I did miss a few people in the live chat. Joe Burnett, just wanted to say hello to you, Joe, as well as there's somebody else I missed. Matchy Games. I don't know Matchy Games. Perhaps Matchy Games, you want to say a few things about yourself in the chat. Get to know you, and.
Oh, it's ozone. That's what
ozone is the gas, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so not gasoline or petrol as it's referred to some places. I think that would just melt it.
Well, gasoline in a match will do a bright light. And a tan, you'll get a tan.
Tested on a Commodore 64 first.
There you go.
Yes. Well, I don't have too much news for myself. I'm very interested to hear Nick's Marentes updates later on Gunstar. I know part of Gunstar was a kind of a cosmic ambush part 2, or redoing kind of that type of scrolling. I've also watched the 8-bit guy did a Timex Sinclair part 1. I think that just premiered last night, and I watched that. So that'd be pretty interesting if anyone wants to take a look at that. Where should we go from here, Curtis?
Well, if you want to do news, we can do that next. But since there's quite a bit of it this time, because we didn't do any last week, I don't know if you want to do a commercial break first.
I'll ask my engineer, TomC. TomC, do we have commercials?
Sure, we do actually have commercials this time.
Tommy, baby, help us out.
All right.
The professional show.
Yeah,
Tommy Bag of Donuts.
Here it comes.
Hey, have you got your CoCo 3 yet? Hi, this is Rick Adams, author of Temple of Ram and Shanghai, and you've tuned into CoCoTALK, the nation's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy color computer.
Get ready.
What's going on, everybody? Original Gamer Stevie Stroh here, and if you're a fan of vintage computing and retro gaming, then you're going to love our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com. There you will find custom designs by Instagram artist Joel M. Adams. You can get I'm a Coconut, CoCoTALK, and other cool video game images on a t-shirt, coffee mug, or mouse pad. So if you love retro, then head on over to the retro swag shop at 8bit256.com today. Tell them the Original Gamer Stevie Stroh sent you.
Let the Radio Shack TRS-80 put the world of color computing into your home. Instant loading program packs turn any color TV into an exciting game arcade. And there's more. The color computer is an educational aid, a home management tool, and up-to-the-minute electronic information service. The programmable, expandable TRS-80 color computer from $399 only at Radio Shack, the biggest name in little computers.
We now return you to CoCoTALK.
And we're back. I don't know what happened to Rob, but there he is.
I'm here.
Hey, so do you want to cover some news?
Let's do it.
Okay, I probably missed some. I'll just put a disclaimer up front here. I probably missed some of the news stories from the last 2 weeks here because I had some other stuff to do today. But and I've got some here that don't really have links per se that I'll probably just run through those first, and then I'll start going through the ones where I share the screen. So the first one without a link. This was actually interesting because I'd never really thought about this before, but John Linville mentioned on the CoCo Crew group on Facebook that the new video versions they've been doing of the CoCo Crew podcast, which is basically just showing a screen with the links and the show notes, and then having a little waveform and stuff going across. YouTube has this automatic closed captioning function if you click the CC button on YouTube, and will then print the text on it of everything that's being said. And actually, that works fine on CoCoTALK as well. So if any of you need to try to watch it with, say, your significant other not wanting to hear us all blather for 3 hours, you can now do it silently with the video. So I thought that was kind of cool. Has anybody else tried that? Or I do notice it occasionally figures out words a little bit off.
Curtis, are you sharing your screen, or are we?
No, I'm going to go through the stories that don't have any screenshots.
Oh, I gotcha.
At this point. So
sorry.
Another one was Mark, and Mark already mentioned this too, that getting article submissions for the new Rainbow magazine, how to get them. The deadline is January 31st. I think you've already got some articles already. Is that true, Mark? Is Mark still there?
Sorry, I stepped away for a moment. Yeah. Yeah, I do have a couple of them already, but I'm waiting for more. Also, I got a late entry from Paul Thayer. So.
Oh, cool.
Bonus.
Sounds good. But anyway, anybody else who's thinking of doing an article, the deadline's rapidly approaching. I mean, less than a week, so get them in as soon as you can.
Get them in.
And speaking of articles, Chet Simpson uploaded to the CoCo archive. He uploaded a bunch of the Princeton CoCo listserv, which is the original CoCo list shared group from Princeton University, but I used to read quite a bit when I was younger too. He uploaded a bunch from 93 to 96, and then Guillaume Major, who actually hosts the CoCo archive, uploaded some for the other years from the Princeton CoCo listserv, and he also did some for the old Delphi and CompuServe stuff. So there's a whole bunch of text messages from a whole bunch of us that were involved in the community back in the 90s. If you want to see some history of stuff that went on in general chat and stuff too. So that's pretty cool. I went and did a kind of a vanity search there and found a few blatherings of my own kind in there too. So that was kind of cool. But definitely go check out. There's a lot of history in there. I won't show the link for this. It's just kind of an active discussion on Facebook in the CoCo group. Tim Locke, who's in Europe, I believe, was asking which countries the CoCo was sold into. And I know that CoCo 1 and 2 was in more countries than the CoCo 3. Intertan, for some reason, didn't sell the CoCo 3 in as many countries. I'm not sure what the reasoning behind that was. But so far as for the CoCo 1 and 2, the ones that have been confirmed by people that have actually lived or bought them in these countries has been Canada, the United States, the UK, England, etc., Australia, France, Argentina, Netherlands, Germany, and Peru. Does anybody else in the panel know any other countries that have officially sold a color computer 1, 2, or 3?
Uruguay.
Maybe New Zealand.
Tasmania?
Well,
Is this including some of the clones that were sold?
There has been some discussion of the clones in there, but I think his original question was just on the actual original ones. So, like, I know some of Europe did and some of Europe didn't, so I'm not sure exactly. That would be an interesting question, to me, too, because I'm not sure exactly how many officially sold the CoCos from Tandy Radio Shack and how many just did the clone thing. Like, Brazil, I think, only had clones. Is that correct? I don't think they actually had an official Radio Shack.
I think so. I think it was like a CP 400 or something like that.
Brazil has very interesting laws on how they. It's kind of like China is now about respecting rights, and also they had very high tariffs. So basically, what happened is that certain companies would import things. There's a company, Unitron, I think, and that even cloned the original Macintosh, quite literally. But
yeah, and we've had some of those CoCo clones on the show before. We get shown by some people that are down there. So
yeah, there's a whole bunch of them. There's like a half dozen of them. So. And then I guess one I hadn't seen before. There's one from Eastern Europe too. Came from Yugoslavia. So
I didn't know that one either.
It's on the story on Facebook when they were asking. So somebody posted a picture. So it's like,
okay,
cool.
I did not catch that before. Okay, do I have anything else here? I will mention that James Jones, who actually worked in Microware, including at the time that they were still doing CoCo development. I can't remember if he had any specific relationship with the CoCo. I think he was doing more 68K stuff. But he posted a couple articles on Basic 9 in the Nitrous 9 Facebook group. I'm not going to put the links up just because you can go read them yourselves there. And there's multiple ones. He had one on the RS-DOS OS9 divide, which is something I and me and Bill quite well know from the 90s, because at that time, almost all the new development for the CoCo was being done under OS9 and Nitrous 9 and Power Boost. And RS-DOS had kind of fallen to the wayside somewhat, and it's kind of almost the opposite now. There's so many new games and stuff and other programs coming up for Disk Extended Basic now, so it keeps flip-flopping back and forth depending what time period you're in, yes. And then he had another one on wishes for Basic 9, which is some things that he would like to have added to Basic 9 to make it a bit more modern of a language. I'm in the process of disassembling and optimizing Basic 9 as it is, but I have no source code for it, so I'm trying to figure it out myself, and it's a 24K machine language program. So it's fairly complex, and I'm not used to looking at an actual language, the source code to a language, I guess. So it's pretty slow going. I'm just kind of doing it in bursts as I do other stuff with ease of use. So if I ever get to the point where it's mostly commented and it's as optimized as I want to bother making it, then I'll probably just pass it off onto the repository, and then anybody else who is a bit more familiar with working with making programming languages wants to tackle it and add some of these features or some of their own features they want to add, then I will invite people to do so. But that's a long ways off before I get that even close to being done. And then one other one I'll mention here that was done on the OS9 Nitrous 9 page on the group as well is that Stephen Fisher has released his OS9 Colorful Sled text editor, which is based on the original Sled from, what was it, 1988 or something? Bill and I used to use it way back in the day too. But he did some extensions to it. So other people have done some extensions to it as well, but his actually supports the 106 column graphics mode, and it has a fair bit of extensive stuff added to it compared to the original, so it looks pretty good. He also uploaded some documentation of some of the features and what key presses do what. So you can go check that out too.
It's on the Facebook page?
Yeah, Facebook Nitrous 9 page, yeah. And he's got a couple different messages. One has like the instructions and the other has the program. It's a screenshot. And I think that's it for the ones that I'm not going to bother with screen shares. Oh, I guess there's one more. Chet Simpson posted up what he was trying to amalgamate a list of all the different sound card solutions that we have now, because as we know, there's quite a few new ones coming out, and we've also rediscovered some old ones that a lot of people had forgotten about. And his current list, at least is one I had to check this morning, cassette audio input, that's an option. That's using the audio on command, which basically means you can play anything. The built-in 6-bit DAC and 1-bit PIA audio, so every CoCo has that. The Orchestra 90 pack, which is 2 8-bit DACs, but otherwise a dumb card. The CoCo DAC 16 with 2 8-bit DACs. The Speech System Stereo pack, which is 2 8-bit DACs. The Tandy Speech and Sound cartridge, which is using an AY38913 chip and also has a voice synthesis. Tony DiStefano, sure I'm pronouncing that wrong, from Disto, had one called the TOTS sound card with the AY38910 that he actually published how to make the board in the September 1983 Rainbow, which is the same rainbow that the CoCo 164K and the CoCo 2 were first announced in. Another one that Chet's been very interested in, Bill used to own, is the Symphony 12, which is 4 of those AY38910 chips. It was a 16 voice. You had 4 noise channels and 12 voices, and you actually could support, you know, like full symphony type stuff, which is why they named it that way. There's also the Philharmonic 12, which is basically something. So go ahead, Bill.
Oh, I just said it was good. I loved it.
Yeah, I remember when we had that little demo at the mall there, and the Atari ST guys were bringing stuff, you know, playing MIDI stuff, and then you cranked up your Symphony 12 and drowned them out.
And the CoCo had enough bandwidth to drive all those audio channels at the same time?
Yeah, these are sound chips, like dedicated sound chips, so you don't have to program like the DAC every, you know, if you want to do
Not real time.
Yeah, exactly. You just send it the notes and what the waveforms are, and then it plays it on its own. But it had 4 of the chips in there, so you were programming on 4. It's basically 4 speech sound packs combined, minus the voice. The Game Master cartridge, which has an SN7649, that's John Linville's, and Retro Tinker. CoCo PSG with the YM2149 AY38910. Mega Mini MPI from Ed Snyder with the YM262M. Sir Sound, the serial port based one from Alan Huffman, which has the SN7649 chip as well. And then there's a couple of the the MIDI packs. There's a Speech Systems CoCo MIDI interface, the Rutherford Research MIDI pack. I know there was hacks to do on the RS-232 pack itself where you could change the clock crystal to get it to do a MIDI compatible speed serial port. You could drive a MIDI synth directly from that too. And I can't remember which one. Was it the Rutherford Research or was it a different one? MIDI Kestra or something? I can't remember. It actually had the MIDI in and out. So you could actually program the keyboard to record on the CoCo as well as just program the synthesizer itself. So you could go both directions. And then the new one that just got announced, it's a little bit later in the news, we'll show a little bit more too, is the new MP3 player program pack that Ed Snyder's doing, where he's actually got a hardware MP3 decoding chip on there, and you can basically have the CoCo queue up and play MP3 files. So, which I think is pretty cool.
Very cool.
Okay, now I'll start getting into tabs here and share my screen.
The ironic thing being an MP3 will not fit in RAM.
Well, I don't think you really need to, though, because basically that card will handle its own. You just send
no, I know. I think it's funny. I just think it's funny how little RAM it has compared to what we're used to today.
Yeah. Though, to be honest, most MP3s would fit on the 8 meg board that Jim Brain's doing.
Yes.
One song at a time, maybe 2, but.
I think it's cool that Chet's trying to create a development environment so you can program for all of those at once.
Yeah.
I wasn't mocking, by the way. I just think it's funny how things have changed in the last 30 years.
Turns out we need more than 640K.
That's right. That's way up.
Yeah. Comment on the sound because it's also one of my interests, though I'm not a musician. And the possibility of developing a cross-platform development is very highly doable by the fact that the TI and the AY chips are very similar.
John, are you quite far away from your mic because you seem to be really quiet?
Right here. Sorry, there. Let me try it again. Okay, it's very similar technology used in the 2 chips. And then if you want to abstract, items for music, then you can abstract it to notes and just do, play from there. And that makes it even easier to make a common platform. I think, as far as music, it's pretty well doable. Sound effects is where they're going to start to really differ. Yeah. If you want to do some kind of, in-game sound effects and stuff, then you're going to have a lot of difference, going in there because they start to handle it. Again, the TI chip and the AY are similar enough to do so. a side comment, the Sur Sound is actually a spin-off idea of a development system that Alan and I was playing with to develop things, and said, well, hey, let's just add a serial port to this for the sound. So,
yeah, that way it doesn't take up a cartridge slot. You don't have to do modifications to the CoCo. It's just plug and play, basically.
Yeah, it was the idea to do that, so basically I'd hack together something from the web that drove the chip so we could hear the sound. He had, excuse me, Arduino system. And so he could play it back. So, hey, I want to hook the serial port to it. Let's go for it. And so, yeah, he's doing software for that, adding some extra features to that as, tack decay, sustain and release can be done in the software with it. And that's one reason it helps sound better. And they can also be done with the AY chips. Okay. And so there's a great possibility of doing this stuff, to make things as a common. The only thing I want to caution people, the more things you do, you've got to focus on the common areas. So you're going to miss some of the spatial features, most likely. Okay. And that's not saying anything against Jet. He may figure a way out to include all those spatial features, but it's just not going to be common. So just because you can make one kind of sound effect in one chip doesn't mean you can create the same on another.
Yeah, or you might have to have alternate sounds for different outputs and stuff like that too.
Exactly.
Yeah. And speaking of music, since we're kind of on the subject too, I just noticed Brian Schubring's online, and he's kind of the MIDI man. So Brian, do you remember which one of the MIDI packs did the MIDI pass through and the MIDI in and MIDI out so that you could actually record live playing on the keyboard and stuff? And you'll have to unmute.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me right now?
Yep. Yep. Gotcha.
Good. Okay. Yeah. It's the Rutherford. That's the one that the Glenside redid. I did the board on that, and I added the in-out so that you can both bring it in and out. And it was CoCo MIDI Pro. I think it was an RSDOS-based program that you could actually record MIDI on. Mike Carey from Prospect, Tennessee. I don't know if you remember back in the day at the Holiday Inn when we had that whole big setup and all that.
Yep.
He was just doing that. He did that, and he also built the MIDI pack into a CoCo because he converted regular pianos into MIDI player pianos, and he used the CoCo to actually test the installations.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that part.
Yeah.
Now, is that board still being made by Glenside, or do you guys still have any in stock?
No, those are gone. I still have all the artwork.
Sorry, that was for James Capper.
It's a train wreck.
Yeah. And I still have the all the artwork and everything, so we could do it again, but with everything coming out, I don't know if that would really be necessary, especially if you go with some of the sound chips that could be used also with for MIDI pass-through, I think.
Yeah, and something you can actually do the samples too, which basically duplicate a MIDI at that point. No, I'm just wondering if you guys had still some in stock there, if anybody was interested in them.
Yeah.
Gentlemen,
I've got the schematics.
Go ahead, Brian.
Okay, all right. No, I've got the schematics. They're actually out there and that, and it's really pretty simple to set up, and you can actually build it into the color computer and just attach right there to the bus. It takes the T3 spot in addressing, and then it's always there.
Okay.
There, bonus material for you. All right, I can start going through the news stories here now with screen share. If you can let me screen, there we go. No, it's waiting for me. It says I cannot share the screen yet.
Try now.
There we go.
First we get audio, now we get video.
Okay, can you guys see that?
I see it.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
It's in Spanish.
Yeah. Per Surratt and what's the other guy's name? I keep forgetting the guy's name here. Keys Van Os, I guess that's how you pronounce it. The guys have been porting the Spectrum AGD games. The last 2 weeks have been very busy. They cranked out 4 game packs, each with 6 games. So 24 new games have appeared for the CoCo, just from them.
AGD is Arcade Game Designer for the people that don't know.
Yeah, so they've got, what is their total up to now? It's like 70 something, I think. Because there's a lot, and they're still cranking them out. So I'll just quickly go through them here. There's links in the Facebook group, both for the downloads. You can download them for both Dragon and for the CoCo. And he's got descriptions of the games and stuff on the links there too. But there's 4 separate packs, so you have to kind of go over the last couple weeks. So I'll just quickly scroll through. There's like in this game pack 9, there's Baby Monkey Alba. I haven't tried any of these, so if any of you guys have, you can pipe up and give me any details. The Adventures of Bouncing Bob. I should mention that they're still doing the black and white plane port ones, which actually is kind of nice if you have a CoCo 3 with an RGB monitor, because since you have no artifacting, it'll show up exactly like you're seeing here on these screenshots. But the engine is capable of doing some color, but you'd have to redesign some of the graphics to get that to work, which they did, I think, on 1 or 2 of the first games they did, and they haven't done on the other ones because it's a fair bit of work. Here's Goodnight Kanga, which has a kangaroo, so I'm sure that inspires Nick Marentes. In Crazy Kong City, Episode 1. Saving Kong 2. I don't know. Do you guys want me to scroll through every single one of the games for all 4 of the packs, or just mention that there are some here? Okay. Get on to the next one.
And where were these ported from?
The Spectrum.
Oh, and how did they port them?
Well, Per and them, like there's the AGD, as James had mentioned, the Arcade Game Designer was a package that was written to create arcade games for the Spectrum. And I think it's a cross compiler, isn't it, James? It's actually done under Windows.
It's a library of functions, and it lets you design the graphics and then use the built-in animation routines and stuff. And you can choose from a series of tools, to build a game, and it actually takes care of stuff like doing platformers and things like that, kind of a lot of the stuff for you. And so they ported the kind of the engine, that all the pieces that are needed to just build the game on a different machine. The Arcade Game Designer actually supports several different machines, and there's the train. You jumped the gun on me. It's also on, well, it's mostly on Z80 machines, but I believe that the CoCo is the first non-Z80 or the Dragon or CoCo. I don't know. Maybe it might be on the Acorn Atom as well, but I'm not sure.
So it's generating 6809 code then.
Well, most of the code is already written, and it's kind of like a library of functions mostly. It's hard to explain. There's a whole page dedicated to it on Facebook, and then there's another Arcade Game Designer offshoot for smaller sprites, so that you can do stuff like Load Runner, and then there's a whole series of web pages for it online. If you go to any of the pages that he's showing off here, I think somewhere in there they've got links to the actual Arcade Game Designer stuff. But you can request to be a member of the group, and you can design your own games with it and make them build on for the CoCo or for the Spectrum or for what is it?
Dragon,
Amstrad, and
wow.
yeah, there's a bunch of different systems that they have it up and going on, but I think they have about I think the last status I saw was that they had about 90% of the tools available for it ported. So anything that didn't use the other 10%, they could, bring it up fairly quickly, because you're not really writing a lot of assembly language and stuff. You can throw in your own routines, but that's what makes porting these so fast. These didn't have any special code. They just used stuff that was built into the libraries for the arcade game designer.
So if somebody tries to port a game that uses hardware sprites, like on the Commodore 64, would that game actually run on the CoCo or a machine that doesn't have hardware sprites?
Well, the thing is, it was written for machines that don't really have hardware sprites.
Okay. That makes better sense.
There is not a Commodore 64 version that I'm aware of. It would replace the hardware sprites with software-based sprites. But,
emulation, right?
Right.
Okay. That's pretty interesting. I hadn't heard about it.
Yeah, it's been around a while, and it's undergone a bunch of revisions, and it gets better all the time. But there are, I don't know, at any given time, there's probably 24 games in development.
Yeah. Right now, there's 170 games on the Spectrum, and I think like I said, we're up to about 70 on the CoCo, or 80 or something like that they've ported already. In the span of what, about 5-6 weeks?
Yeah. If you go out and look at the actual pages on Facebook for Arcade Game Designer, someone's working on a version of Sailor Man. What's it called? Popeye. Yeah. And he's been showing status and just little updates, and he's done. It's amazing how much can be done in such a short amount of time with it.
I think Perry had mentioned that once they finish these ports, he actually wanted to get onto a different project, so he's not sure if he's going to finish every single, like the last 10% or whatever, to get everything to convert properly. And I can't remember if he said he was going to help try to port the tools over so you could actually create the programs, natively to the CoCo first, and then instead of porting a Spectrum one to the CoCo. Do you know, James, if they've?
I haven't been following that. I've mostly been following the stuff that's going on over on the Spectrum, because that's where the new development's going on. I've been sharing these links over on Discord when they show up, but really I haven't been following what work he's been doing on the CoCo and Dragon stuff.
Okay. Hey, Rob, is that an actual one of the games playing there on your screen?
Yes.
Here, let me stop my sharing, because actually I haven't seen these things running live either, so I'll let you show off the actual game you've been running to see.
Yeah, I'm having a little bit of trouble just remembering how to get them started, because they do use the ZX Spectrum keyboard layout, I guess. But I do have the joystick hooked up into the right. I don't know if you can really see it. This one I haven't played before, called Doodlebug, so I can't make it run. But
pick one that how to play them.
Some of these games might come up and run, but they might have a few quirks to them yet.
Yeah, Aeon is very good. That was one of the first ones, but it takes a while to load, and I was having a little bit of trouble there. Boggy was the one I was showing, because they did make it in, when you load it, it'll ask if you want P mode 3 or P mode 4, which is a horrible choice to have to make. But it's like, would you like to die by guillotine or fire? But anyway, if you select 3, you will get the color, but it's half the resolution, right?
Okay, yeah, because I just want to demonstrate the game engine to see how fast does this library actually run.
It runs. It runs really fast. I mean, all the things that are supposed to go bounce up and down, and I don't know why it's a little blurry on my. It's
the focus. I think it's focusing on you rather than the screen.
Yeah. I don't know why I'm moving out of the. But we can maybe for a future CoCoTALK kind of get this set up so it's actually, you know.
Well, I'd like to run through the actual games at some point. I mentioned that to Stevie last week that we should do maybe a pre-done video and just like have a 30-second gameplay of each. But I just want to show one just so people know what
so
they're capable of.
Wait, 2 joysticks. So this one, you can see, and even on the PMO4 version, I mean, everything is very smooth. Even when they're moving faster in some levels, they bounce up and down. I mean, there's nothing that seems slow about it.
And what's the sound like in the libraries? Is there much sound routines or?
There are, I have the sound is all my sound. This does have a speaker, this monitor, but normally I run through the Bluetooth speaker, which I have unplugged for CoCoTALK. So, none of it will impress you like it's a sound chip or anything, but it does have
the Spectrum is just a beeper for most of the sport they have. Even though the later machines have an AY sound chip.
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, they're not using like the sound command or the play command from ROM or anything silly. Like, they actually got some decent sound effects, real ones.
It's again, it's nothing that will impress you outside of what the CoCo can do. There's sound. I don't know how else to really say it. There's sound. It's okay. It's the bleeps and bloops.
It's the buzzes and clicks and that sort of thing.
It does all those things. I wouldn't say it would be anything that would be particularly impressive outside of what you would expect from a normal look for a CoCo 2 game.
No, but I mean, if it does more than just say the play and sound command, it'd be better than you could do in BASIC, right?
I think.
Does an explosion sound like an explosion, or is it like beep beep beep?
I haven't got that far in a lot of the games. I mean, it's mostly bleeping and blooping. I wouldn't say there's any more sophisticated sounds that I've noticed. I would say it's more limited than what you're thinking, Curtis.
More limited than BASIC, or about the same as BASIC then?
Yeah, about BASIC level, maybe a little bit better.
Okay.
Yeah, not like a game by Spectral Associates or something, but yeah, maybe more along the lines of BASIC.
Okay, because I can say the graphics here definitely look better than BASIC. Like, that's smoother than a get put would be.
It's if you've ever listened to any of the machines like Apple II or whatever that use the click a speaker, basically, it's going to be more like that.
Okay. Okay, so screen sharing again?
Yes.
Okay. You guys can see that, then I will switch to the next story. If Zoom would quit putting stuff in front of it. Okay, so this one here, this is Diego, who's been on the show numerous times. He released a text adventure game based on the XCOM game, and this is his page, and you actually click on the XCOM link on his little, disk extended basic thing here to actually download it. And unfortunately, it looks like it went to a slightly different page here for some reason, but let's go over here. So he's got some like low res graphics in here too, but it's a 32K game, text adventure with some mixed graphics and stuff, and it's looks pretty interesting. He's got a kind of a program structure if you want to know how it works and how the variables work and stuff here too. So he's got some documentation for the programmer, as well as a bit of a map. But that's one he just released here in the last little while. And Ken Reichert, famously known as the brother of Jason, released one that he'd originally programmed this, I guess, for the Rainbow, because Rainbow used to have a competition for both simulation games and for adventure games. They had a contest every year where you'd submit your program, your game of that type, and they would pick the top winners in different categories, and then they would publish them in a book, and then also release it on cassette and on disc. And he wrote this one apparently for the 5th adventure contest, or was it the 4th? I can't remember, but basically that contest never happened. Rainbow stopped doing it right at that time. So he had no chance to win whatsoever. but he's released the game here, so he's got the download there and then the screenshot. And I guess from looking in the comments here, it sounds like Jim Gary might try to port it to the MC10 because that's what he does. And this here, as we've discussed previously, John Linvaux is working on a converter for his Game Master cartridge to be able to play or to convert songs into the play command format. Now, the play command on the CoCo is single voice, but there was versions of that by Microsoft for doing multi-voice. And that's what he is, this current demo here on YouTube, which he has links to. Basically, he's done, in this particular example, he did a 2-voice version of it, but it will handle up to the 3 voices that the chip supports. So you can actually write a play command basic and it'll convert it over to actually play it by note names, et cetera, instead of having to like poke values under the card and stuff. So it'll make it much easier for somebody to transcribe music or to borrow music from any of the other systems that also use that extended multi-voice play command. So that's pretty cool. You can definitely check that out. This is still a work in progress too, so it's not released yet, but he's given us an updated demo. And Ed Snyder's been a busy little boy as usual. He actually did a couple of things the last couple of weeks. This one here is the Mega Mini MPI dual USB serial port adapter. I'll zoom up a little bit here. So basically that plugs into the Mini MPI where he's got his high-speed 16550 base serial ports, and this actually adapts it to USB, so you can actually take a USB serial port and plug it into there as well. And that connects it up to 921 kilobaud, so 921K. And he's on his early tests, he's had up to 52K per second sustained transfer rates running on a CoCo 1 and 2 at the old 1 megahertz speed, and he's had it up to 78K on the CoCo 3. I don't know if he spent a lot of time optimizing that or if it can be expanded a bit past that, but that's pretty decent speed, 78 kilobytes per second on a CoCo 3. So a lot of interesting we do that. What's that?
That's getting as bad as we were.
Well, actually, he's running faster than we were, but but yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of interest, and I know Ron Delvaux, you've done this quite a bit too, where you've actually are logging on to ANSI-based BBSs and stuff.
Yes, sir.
And this is one option to do that, where you can actually take a USB style modem to hook up that you can get off the shelf nowadays instead of trying to hunt down an old RS-232 pack and hunt down the various components. This will make it much easier. There's wireless options for it too that you can plug into as well. So, and there's several BBSs up on there. There's 2 different terminal programs now that support the full ANSI color stuff here. In fact, one of that will be an update to one of those is one of the later stories here. But there's a fair bit of stuff being able to go on. And
I have one comment about this.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm working on a version of DW term that works with this adapter. I have it kind of started working, but I'm still working out some bugs. I got to 115K on CoCo 2 and 460K on a CoCo 3. I don't have it working at the higher speeds yet.
Well, what's your throughput like on the CoCo 3?
What's that?
What's your throughput like on the CoCo 3?
I haven't tested file transfers, so.
Oh, okay.
I'm playing with DW. Wrote the driver for DW term to work with the UARTs in the Mega Mini MPI.
Okay, so you're doing the drive-wire protocol, like getting files and that kind of thing?
It's not. I haven't done drive-wire yet, but that's sort of my next step. Just
okay.
the terminal program so far.
Guys sound like NASA with all those acronyms.
We just make up stuff as we go along. Anyway, that's really interesting because that's actually like some hardware support already for the Mega MPI that he's barely had available, and every time he puts it up, it sells out within a day. So lots of nice hardware options.
I can probably add Nitrous 9 support for it pretty easily. I just haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, and I know like Rick Euland had done one for when he was running Connect. He had his Connect 16550 base driver for Nitrous 9 written already back in the day, back in the 90s. I don't know how compatible that is, but it should be a nice base to get it working.
The driver I saw, the one that compiles with Nitrous 9, has no comments. It's a state disassembly.
Oh, so we'll have to see if we can get a hold of Rick and see if we can get his original code. Probably somebody just bought it and then eventually just disassembled themselves and then threw it in the repository. There's a lot of stuff in the repository like that. any rate, Ed yesterday kind of surprised all of us because none of us had a clue he was working on this, as far as I know. He's now got a hardware MP3 decoder, which also includes one of the USB to UART high-speed serial interfaces in it too. So this is just designed. He hasn't actually done anything on it, but he's actually planning on making an MP3 player for it. So this is kind of the rough schematic that he's hammered out for it. And that would be pretty cool because, I mean, the MP3 is a format that is very common. You can get a ton of stuff. You can even get legally free songs and stuff over the web if you wanted to incorporate them as background songs for your game or whatever you want to use it for. There's a ton of stuff already done. You don't even have to write your own music. So that'd be pretty interesting. And you can make a little jukebox program or something like that to tell the thing, go play something in the background. You can actually have like a full-blown music player on your CoCo running in the background. So that's kind of cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, definitely a work in progress. Like he mentioned, he doesn't have actual software done for it. We just kind of whipped out the design and posted up the schematic yesterday. So, but if anybody can do it, it's him.
So are we going to have a CoCo pod in the future? We're going to be able to be at the dog park and download some stuff on my CoCo. Wouldn't that be something?
I'm just waiting for us to get like a full-blown jukebox program that plays MP3s. That'd be kind of cool.
That would be neat.
This is one from on Facebook, Todd Wallace, who's Lord Dragon in Discord. He's been working on his new game. And he just ordered a 3.5-inch disk drive that he hooked up to his CoCo, and he's actually using it to transfer stuff from his PC, MS-DOS PC, to his CoCo. And I didn't know of any way to do that directly, but there is some stuff built into the EOU. There's some commands to read and write PC disks, like MS-DOS disks, and also to read and write RS-DOS disks. And his game that he's working on is an RS-DOS. So he actually did the 3-way transfer. He transferred the PC to a floppy, put the floppy in his CoCo, copied it into Nitrous 9 on his virtual hard drive on the SDC, and then copied it back onto an RS-DOS disk and actually ran the game. So he kind of went through and showed the different stages here. Like here he's doing a directory of the PC disk, and then copies it over into his Nitrous 9 side, and then he puts it back onto the RS-DOS disk here with the RS-DOS command, and he did it under RS-DOS, and there it is. And then he actually ran it, and it's actually running. So it's kind of it's probably not as clean and easy to do as say a Rick Adams thing where you're just blasting stuff across, but it works. And I don't know how many people, like I know Bill and I used to use these utilities constantly because we got a lot of files sent to us by disk and sometimes by modem for work on the CoCo. And there, of course, Word most of the time were MS-DOS format. So having that stuff built in, and we included that all with the EOU already all set up to go too. So if you have 360K double-sided 5.25-inch drives or 720K double-sided 3.5-inch drives on your CoCo, you can actually transfer stuff back to your PC if your PC also has a 3.5 or 5.25. Go ahead.
M-Shell does some of that, right?
I believe so, yes. Not much to show here, but and Ron, I don't know if you've had a chance to try this yet, but I noticed Roger just yesterday posted up an update to NetMate, and that's the terminal program you're using for him to do the ANSI BBS stuff, correct?
Yeah, I've been using one of his beta things that work really good for me. It's like the 10th one he sent me, and I've been it's worked flawless. It's great. You can save your buffer, and that's what I'm interested in. I want to be able to save a session and go back to it and look at it, save it to a different drive, stuff like that.
Okay, so this test version 30, is that the same one you're using then?
No, mine's before that. This is the latest.
Before you get much further away from what you were just talking about, I built a 486 system with a 360K floppy and a 5 and a 3.5, and I used that to go back and forth between PC and CoCo, and I use MS-DOS and CoCoUtil from Mark Data to copy files to and from the CoCo to the PC.
That's an RS-DOS program from Mark Data too. That wasn't OS 9, right?
No, that was RS-DOS.
Okay, so
no,
did it?
MS-DOS.
Oh, it's an actual MS-DOS program that does the transfers. Okay.
Yeah, you can format a CoCo disk, copy files to it, copy files from a CoCo disk to the PC side. So that's for dealing with files. For disk images, I just use DriveWire or the CoCo SDC. But for single files, I use CoCoUtil, and that's up in the archive.
Now that had the restriction though, because RS-DOS discs by default only went up to 160K. That's all that could handle, right? It didn't handle 720K discs or anything?
No, it only did the single 35-track, single-sided.
Okay.
But that's good enough for doing a data transfer if you have a 360K, a regular 35 or 40-track drive on your CoCo.
Yeah. I know, like with Bill and I, we were handling MS-DOS files that were quite a bit larger. Like we had 600-700K files that came in we had to deal with. So running it on the 3.5 inch at a full 720K was quite handy.
Well, wasn't there a set of utilities that Tandy sold, PRS copy?
Yeah, that only did RS-DOS discs from OS9 though. I don't think that did MS-DOS.
Okay. I was sure I read that there was a utility for OS9 to read.
Well, there's for OS9, but that wasn't from Tandy. That was third party.
Oh, all right. All right. Well, I'm going back to mute then. Thank you.
Okay. But thanks for reminding me about the Mark Data one. I totally forgot about that one.
Yeah, and the one that's up on the CoCo archive is my image from my floppy, because I have the original. I bought it from Mark Data way back when.
Cool.
If I can kind of interrupt, because he was doing some news on this, and I dug mine out. Okay, this is the.
I better unshare there because you're not going to be able to be seen here.
Okay. The Titanium Systems. Okay, a guy out of Australia, I'm trying to remember his name right now. Basically, did a new version of the CoCo MIDI, and so it has 3 ports and things are switchable and stuff. So there is a solution out there if somebody wants to do MIDI right now. That I think he still has those available.
Okay, and you made the cases for him?
Yeah, I made some cases. Yeah.
You remember what the cost was, just in case anybody is interested?
That I don't remember. This is dated a couple years ago, so I'd have to look things up and so on. Okay, even guys. I don't even remember the guy's name right now. They used Titanium Studios as a studio name, and they called it CoCo Media. But he was talked about it on Facebook and stuff. I'll have to go back through emails to find it.
I'm trying to remember. Was that the guy in Australia that did that?
Yes.
Okay.
You know, before that, we got too far away from that. You know, I wanted to bring that up.
The guy in Australia, is that one of the hosts of the Trash Talk by any chance?
No.
Okay.
No, it's not Ian Mavic or whatever the guy's name. It's not him.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's not him. Okay.
No, it's not him.
Nick, do you remember?
Ian Maverick or Teza?
Terry Stewart?
Terry Stewart, yeah. Those are the 2 big TRS-80 guys in Australia.
Yeah, because Ian, I think, did his own CoCo floppy controller recently, and he's the Australian guy.
He did 2 of them.
Oh, 2, okay.
He did an FD501 clone, and he cloned the, I don't know which one he cloned. It was either the hard disk specialist or a disto, but it has a dual ROM. It's a full-size card with switchable dual ROM. So you could use both, let's say, Disk Extended Basic and ADOS, or Disk Extended Basic and Super DOS for the Dragon. So you could have one controller for both systems.
Yeah, which the SDC supports that too. That has that jumper for doing the Dragon addressing. You need the ROMs flashed, obviously, but.
Yep. A lot of people buy one CoCo SDC for their CoCo and one for their Dragon.
Yeah, and I need to get a second one just for my CoCo 1 and 2 versus my CoCo 3 because I'm sometimes running them simultaneously now. So.
Yep.
And this is an update from Glenn's side. They've been getting people registered for the tables and stuff at CoCo Fest this year, and they're asking people to submit, get their payments in and how many tables you need, etc. And I guess they're getting close to selling out the main room here. So if you want to get one in the main room and not the auction room, you should probably get it in pretty quick if it's not too late already. But I thought we might as well just run through some of the exhibitors that are confirmed now. So Boise Pete's there, and he's doing his call for papers again, like he did last year. Boys in Tech, which has some troll guy named Richard Lubieski, he's going to be there too, selling his 2 meg boards, boomerangs. Brian Schubring, who's actually on the call here, is going to be there to blast the sound out and play the national anthems, etc. Mark Marlette from Cloud9 is going to be there, and I've heard rumors that there might be some new hardware coming out from him. That's not officially announced yet either, so look forward to that. The CoCo brothers, actually, this will be nice. They're organized to get Simon Jonason to actually come out for CoCo Fest and help raise the money for that. So they're going to have their own booth there too, and actually I can finally pay him for the Timberman because I never did send anything yet because he gave me one to review. And since Paul also plays guitar, this jam session is now going to be probably up to about 5 or 6 musicians at this point. So it's going to be a pretty good jam, probably the best one in years. So I'm looking forward to that too as well.
It's going to be called CoCo Brothers.
Yeah, it could be. The youngest one we're going to call CoCo Jr. in honor of Jim Brain. Brendan Donahue, CoCo VGA will be there. I don't know if he's going to have any more updates to the CoCo VGA. I don't know if anybody here's heard from him on that, whether there's more updates. I mean, he just added in the stuff for redefinable character sets and stuff, so.
Attend the assembly. He hadn't had time to do anything yet. I haven't heard from him since then. But he did do that paper on sprites. I think that's something he wants to do, but he hasn't found, as of TND assembly, he hadn't found any time to do that yet.
Yeah, and I know him and Ed Snyder were trying to come up with different configurations too to work on the different types of motherboards, like the D board, the E board, the F board, etc. too. So, and the different positions of the chips and the RF cans and things.
I just got CoCo VGA with for the CoCo 2B with the 6847 T1. I was playing with that a week or two ago. I just got them.
Cool. So how many boards has he got left to support?
I don't know. I know that probably my D board CoCo 1 is never going to get a VGA.
Actually, that's one of the few that had everything nice and socketed too.
The other thing is, you did tell me that it actually will fit into a MC10, but the case doesn't go back on.
Yeah, and I know people have put in Dragons too, so I mean, it supports the Dragon as well.
Yes, it does. It does a version. There is a version for the Dragon. So, yes.
And then the Color Computer Store will be there selling software and hardware, parts, etc. Evan Wright, who wrote, what was it, Flooded, I think, and the Hunt the Wumpus cartridge that is just coming out now, which is a port of the TI-99 4A version of the game, which was a cartridge back in the day on the TI-99 4A. There's been some videos and stuff on that, so that just is getting released. He'll be there as well. Hawksoft, which is Chris Hawks and his wife, who've been to every CoCo Fest, I think, and probably quite a few of the Rainbow Fest too, from what I remember. Be there selling their normal software and hardware. John Linville, Retro Tinker, of course. What's that noise coming from?
Me. Sorry.
Sounds pretty cool, though, whatever it is.
Hello. Yeah, I'm still doing the show.
This is awesome.
Hey, Ron, you got to mute your audio. There you go.
Oh, come on. I want to hear that conversation.
Well, while we're waiting for him to come back, I'll go.
That was my mama.
Okay.
You still on your show? Yeah.
Give your mom the Zoom link.
Really?
There we
She
go.
would be all right.
John Linville will be there, of course, showing off the Game Master cartridge and his new Play Command stuff, and hopefully the Game Master version of Firefall will be available too. I know he's trying to get it up for the last fest, and then he hit some last-minute snags he didn't get a chance to finish. William Astle, Lost Wizard Enterprises, maker of LW Tools and LW Asm, will be there. He doesn't really sell anything in his booth. He just likes chatting with all of us, and he has to have a place to sit. So definitely visit him if you need some hardcore technical info on 6809, etc. He's pretty well a wizard in that area. Neil Blanchard, and I think he's the one who was actually supporting Evan Wright with the Hunt the Wumpus cartridge, and helped design the actual hardware for it. Is definitely going to be there again too. We'll skip this Nitrous 9 ease of use project. That's useless. Rick Adams, of course, will be there. Rick, will you have Bomb Threat ready by then, do you think?
Well, yeah.
Not Bomb Threat, sorry. Yeah.
Oh,
you know what I meant.
Bomb Threat for sure. Yeah. You're probably thinking OmniStar.
Yes.
Well, that'd be nice. We'll see. It'd be nice to have Temple of Rome 2 done too, but that's sort of doubtful.
Yeah, I think you
It
might have enough to
could
demonstrate the
happen.
engine stuff, but yeah, Temple Rome 2 is probably pushing it a bit hard to get released by then.
Just make
Yeah.
sure that you have the bomb threat cartridges covered up when you get onto the airline.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Well, actually, I'm driving there, so I'm
Oh,
safe.
good, good.
That's a good thing to remember, though. Yeah.
Well, remember, we
know.
do have a bomb squad available if there's any problem with the bomb threat.
That's right.
Yeah.
That is true.
Hey, John,
Henry Reitfeld is going to be showing his CoCo 3 in a stick as well as his CoCo 3 helmet display, which will be pretty interesting. He's also been putting videos up on YouTube of his Rampage arcade cabinet that he's built in an Atari 2600 and a CoCo 3 system into, and you can actually play the games with the real arcade buttons and the real arcade joysticks.
Wow.
On both of those systems, so that's been pretty cool too.
That's an impressive number of vendors for a CoCo Fest.
Yeah, and we're still expecting more too. I mean, that's just the ones that have actually submitted the money and reserved the table officially at this point.
Yeah, I need to do that.
You think we'll go to 120 this time?
I'm hoping. I mean, the fact that Simon's actually flying in, and I think a lot of people want to meet him. You might get some people like Paul Thayer and his brother there are coming in. They haven't been to one in a few years, from what I understand. So there's some extra people coming just because Simon's coming. And I think there might be a few more coming just to meet him because that's going to be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity type of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping. Here, Carlos actually published a little video on Facebook showing off the old Votrax, or is it Voltrax, or how do you pronounce that?
Votrax, yeah.
Votrax. Voice synthesizer, which is actually using a Tandy power supply, which is kind of cool in of its own, but it's also the same chip that Spectrum did on the voice pack for the CoCo, which I think Al had mentioned.
SCO1.
Or is Al still on? Oh, might be.
I'm here. I was muted. It just takes me a second to get back over.
Okay. Do you still have your Spectrum voice pack?
Yeah, I think I have two of them actually. And I have a speech systems pack. I don't know what's in it, but so
Okay.
I don't know if the speech systems. There were two chips. There was an SCO1 and an SCO2.
Yeah, and the SCO2 is the one that allowed inflection. That was a real talker one, wasn't it?
That might have been. I think I have a Super Talker because I have a Super Talker manual and the software. So that might be a Super Talker cartridge.
So what we're kind of going through nowadays with sound cards, we actually did go through back in the 80s with speech ones, because there was at least 6 or 7. I did find one chess game. I can't remember if I put it in the archive yet or if it's just on my page, but there was a chess game that actually supported 6 different speech cards for the CoCo. And this was one of them.
Yeah, there wasn't much software that supported the speech cartridges. There was, Spectrum Project sold TomC, was a talking terminal program, so that you could go online and
have it read it out to you.
Yeah. Have it read it out. There were several talking terminal programs, and I don't know what else was, I don't remember what else was available. There might have been a few games.
There was a chess game for sure. I've actually got a copy of it.
You said the chess game, but I mean, there might have been like an Eliza game that someone wrote. I mean, when you got the Spectrum voice pack, you got a driver and instructions on how to program it.
Yeah, and then we had software ones too, like Speak Up from, was it Speech Systems? I can't remember who made that one. Computize maybe?
Now explain what an ELIZA game is like.
Well, the Eliza is a kind of a phony artificial intelligence where it's like you were talking to a psychiatrist and you would try to have a conversation. And so you'd say, I'm not feeling good today. And it would say, well, what do you think about that? You know, or in the voice synthesizer would be, what do you think about that? You know, or it would give you.
How does that make you feel? Yeah, that was one of the first basic supposed artificial intelligence programs.
Oh yeah.
How many of you would say swear words to the person?
Oh, I do that all the time. When I got my Model 1 Tier Sadie, that was one of the first that I bought.
That was one of the first games that Flex had too, because I remember Frank Hogg sold one, an Eliza clone. I think they named it a different name, but it was the same Same
And it
thing.
was in the David Owl books had the listing you could type in.
Yeah.
And that was such a simple game, you could port it to any platform easily. Except, you know, oddly, Jim Gerry has not ported that to the MC10 yet.
What?
Give him 5 minutes.
Yeah, he's slacking.
Where does he get it?
I don't know that Zebra built the voice packs for Spectrum projects. I don't know that we ever designed an SCO2 voice pack for the CoCo, for Spectrum, or for anyone. We did do an SCO2 for the Timex. We did one for the Timex 1000, and then another one for the Timex 2068. And I think we didn't even do the SCO one for the 2068, which was the color computer that looks like the Brazilian CP500 CoCo clone. But we did an SCO1 for the Timex 1000 and the SCO2 for the 2068. And that was a pretty neat product back in the day. There's a video on YouTube that I put up there called Zebra on TV. And we were being interviewed, and the whole point of the interview was the Timex might be a dead computer because, you know, the computer industry has passed it by. So I was playing with the voice synthesizer, and the very last thing I did was having the Timex 1000 saying, "I'm not dead yet." And we played that at the end of the interview on the New Tech Times. Was either that one, we did two of them, Wall Street Journal report or the New Tech Times. But that was Zebra Systems. If you ever watch those videos, that's the inside of Zebra. We were built inside of an old beer distributor.
Does anyone know if Bob Rosen is still alive?
Nope. We talked about him last week, but no.
Yeah, nobody's been in contact with him for years. So.
I'm the last person I think to have heard from him, and that was quite a while back.
I found some contact information. I think it was for him on the internet. It looked kind of stale, but I took a chance, and I didn't get any reply, or maybe it bounced. I don't remember now. It was several weeks ago.
Well, if you want Bob Rosen to get back in touch with you, tell him you owe him some money and you'd like to pay him.
Yeah.
That will guarantee he will get back to you.
Talking about looking.
Oh, go ahead.
It's talking about looking old people up, and you know, Marty Goodman got me thinking, and I didn't know the status of Tom Mix, and Tom Mix was from Grand Rapids, Michigan, and so I went and did some looking, and the best I can tell, he passed away about 5 years ago.
Oh, that's too bad.
Because I was able to take the Tom Mix address and trace that through some addresses. It appears his widow was still alive, at least for what I checked, but names matched across, okay, an address.
Is that his real name?
Yes, Tom Mix.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh. Because wasn't there like some kind of famous?
Yeah, a Western cowboy actor.
Yeah, Western cowboy actor named Tom Mix.
Yeah, Tom L. Mix, I believe was his name, okay? That, you know, I remembered the Grand Rapids because, you know, I had family from Grand Rapids and years ago, so it kind of stuck out. And I thought, wait, is that right? So I looked it up in Rainbow, yes it is, and then did Google's on the address, and so.
A lot of the good ones have passed away, sadly.
Yeah.
Speaking of getting your money back from a CoCo vendor from a long time ago, I've got a little story. Might take about 10 minutes or so. There was back in I think it was the late 90s or so, somebody on the CoCo list posted a message about one of the CoCo vendors. They open sourced one of their, not open source, released it to the public, one of their software packages, and I don't think it was Oblique Triad. It might have been a company that was formed from the guys from Oblique Triad after the fact. So anyway, I clicked around on their webpage, and I got in contact with the developers from Oblique Triad who are from Canada. So in the middle or late 80s, they developed a sampling software for the CoCo, and I thought it was pretty neat. It was called StudioWorks, exactly, and it used the DAC port, which was very low resolution. And about maybe a year or so later, they came out with a higher res sampling version of it, which required using a ROM cartridge, the cartridge slot.
Yeah.
So I bought that, and I had a lot of problems with it. It worked, but I had problems. I was going back and forth with them. They sent me updates. After a long time, I finally sent it back to them and said, "Hey, send me a refund." I had talked to them many times, and weeks went by, months went by. I never got my money back. I tried calling them many times. I tried calling the Better Business Bureau or the equivalent in Canada. Long story short, after probably 50 phone calls, letters, and everything I could try, I never got my money back. And back then, it was $69 or maybe $89, not a terrible amount, but so when somebody, when this message on the CoCo list got posted, I clicked around and I got in contact with these guys and I said, "Hey, aren't you one of the founders from Oblique Triad?" And they said,
"Was it Jeff or Dave you got a hold of?"
I still have the email. It was one, and he said, "By the way, I'm still in touch with Dave." And I said, "Do you remember?" And I repeated the whole story to him. He goes, "Yeah, I do. And I'm very sorry that it happened." And he said, back in those days, they were starving programmers, basically just trying to make a living, of course. And long story short, he refunded my money and including a little bit. It came out to about $100 total. So that was, 20-some odd years after they disappeared off the scene. So I thought that was pretty cool of them. And then I ended up giving just donating that money to Glenside because, just to help them out with their costs.
That's cool. Yeah, because it was Jeff Noyle and Dave Triggerson were the two main guys at Oblique Triad. They did like Seventh Link. They did StudioWorks Pro, Those Darn Marbles, etc. They had a really good Defender clone they were working on called Defendroid, but that's when they kind of, decided that they couldn't survive on starvation wages anymore, so they never finished it. And Jeff, I remember he ended up working at Microsoft.
Oh, good for him.
I don't know what happened to Dave. I don't know if he's still in Ontario or not. Okay, I'll switch her back to the old news here. So Robert Sieg, who's been on the show before demonstrating his BMP to MC10 converter, has been working on some algorithms to get you to allow you to be able to change how it interprets the picture when it's trying to narrow it down to the 128 by 96 by 4 color mode that the MC10 supports. So he did an animated GIF here that's showing you 100 different frames of how to have the program interpolate the colors differently. So I'll just click on that. Kind of goes through them there. So there's various ways that you can do the the dithering and what color set to choose from when you're doing the pictures, but that's some of the stuff he's working on. And I know Simon's been kind of talking with him about doing some page flipping techniques to give you expanded palettes and stuff too. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. But it's kind of cool. I've never would expected to see a BMP converter or viewer on an MC10.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. And this is one Tim Locke was. We've kind of discussed that before, but that's the active thread, and he's even got some ads like. This one up here. That's the France advertisement for the Color Computer 2.
The CoCo
Yeah, which is a bit of a different take. We've seen some French ads up here in Canada, of course, for the Quebec market, but this is a bit of a different one from actual France itself, so that was kind of cool too. But that's an ongoing conversation there. So if anybody else knows some other countries that the CoCo 1, 2, or 3 was sold in, the official ones, you can mention the clones too if you want to, but just make sure you mention it's a clone. But we're kind of trying to figure out where did it all get sold.
If you scroll down, you'll see the one from Yugoslavia. It's at the bottom, I think.
Yeah, that's cool to see.
Oh, okay. Nope, looks like I got that one twice. This one here is the now he's got versions of this for the Windows, the Mac, and Linux, or Linux, whatever you want to do it. But Jim Bray had mentioned this in Discord just today, not too long before the show. The CoCo Flash that he makes basically requires a 16K at least and extended color basic for you able to flash any of the ROMs on there or do updates to the CoCo Flash itself. And this one guy here, Jim Shorts, had mentioned that he had some systems that were below that, recommend, or not recommend, but required minimum system to be able to do anything. So he actually took it upon himself to write utilities so that you can actually now do the CoCo Flash stuff even on a 4K CoCo. It's just a little machine language program, and you can load it up, and then you can actually flash the ROM from there and then play some of the games even with a 4K or a 16K without extended color basic. So he's got the downloads here for all 3 platforms, and he's also got the source code there if you want to take a look at it too. So that was kind of cool that he shared all that, and I didn't have a clue that this was even going on, so kind of a surprise. And then that's about it for that. The last story is basically for Nick Marentes, and it'll actually be a transition to him because he's been updating his blog on Gunstar, and he's actually got a video for Gunstar as well. So that's a preemptive CoreDUMP there.
Yeah, that's right. That happens at the end of the show, not before. Yeah, and actually, and I haven't announced it on Facebook, but I've also just put up the next development blog update, of which we'll see the video from. I think Tony's got it queued up there to play, but I've been doing. I've had a bit of spare time, and I've been able to do a bit of work on my Gunstar to the point where I've been putting up blog updates weekly. So it's gotten to the point now where you can actually see what I've been ranting about all this time. Big promises, but this is it. Finally, proof that it actually works, and we might see if Tony's ready to play the video. Saves me talking anyway. So where's Tony?
Well, would you? That's Tom.
Tom. I got the first letter right.
Would you like to do a commercial break first, and then we'll do a?
Well, if you want to do a commercial, yeah, that's right.
Does anybody have to lead? Does anybody have to Leighty?
Yes, I believe Ron Delvaux usually has to.
We're up for it.
Take a break right around here.
All right, just give me 1 second to get this queued up. All right, to turn this on. Okay, and here we go. Commercial break.
Hi there, this is Mark Overholzer, and you're watching CoCoTALK, the world's leading weekly talk show where you can join in. Hey, come watch us and see what's happening in the world of CoCo.
CoCoTALK is brought to you in part by Placeblex Dietary Supplement. Placeblex. We think it works, so will you.
What's going on, everybody? Stevie Stroh, and I want to say thank you for continuing to watch and listen to CoCoTALK. We love doing this show. We think we put together a pretty good show for you, but this show could be better with your help. So if you would like to send a feedback, a comment, a suggestion, a show topic, or maybe even your own little segment or bumper, then send it to us via email to cocotalk@cocotalk.live. This show would be nothing without you. Love to hear from you.
CoCo, c'est le coq champignon, des micros et dans le pion. Pour le jeu, il est pas battant, les études, c'est pas bizarre. L'expansion, il a ça, les commandes, tu vas ça. Notre CoCo est bon galant, pour tes cours, c'est bien serviable. CoCo de radio chaton, la belle est dans le sac.
Un ordinateur couleur qui a de la personnalité. Le CoCo 2 de Radio Shack. En solde pour Noël à partir de 149,95.
CoCo 2 de Radio Chaton, la belle est dans le sac, c'est toi et CoCo 2.
We now return you to CoCoTALK.
And we're back.
Yeah. So you're queued up with the video?
Just about.
Okay, well.
Gotta
find. And then, Nick, you should welcome your fellow Australian who's joined the show late here.
Brizza, yeah, I did actually in the chat. Hi, Brizza. See, now there's someone I can understand what he's saying.
Even writes that up for you.
And he's the right way up. I can get off my head now. Yes, I've been doing a fair bit of work on it. I've got the background moving, and I've got the overlay with the scores and all that. And I decided I'll do a bit of a video blog as well to, well, talk about it a bit, and also I can actually show it. So that's the video we're going to play now, but it's also, if you go to the usual link that I've been advertising my development blog, click on that link again, and there's another chapter's been added in there, and the video, there's a link to the video and a little bit of a something to read there as well, if you want to see it, or if you can't understand my Australian. So yeah, with no further ado, I guess if Tom has it ready to go.
We are considering this the CoreDUMP, correct?
Yes.
Well, if you want to make it a CoreDUMP, yeah, I mean, I guess a CoreDUMP, this is more of a project update, but let's say the CoreDUMP has become a project update if you want. Just if you want to hear the music, that's all.
Yeah.
Yep.
G'day everyone, Nick Marentes here, your fellow retro geek from the land down under, where we drive on the wrong side of the road and toilets flush the other way round. Welcome to a video progress update of my new CoCo 3 game titled Gunstar. Those that have been following my game development blog will know that I have been making some progress of late and now have some actual graphics moving on the screen. I have been explaining my new game engine that I have developed, and now it's time to move beyond the theories and showcase the game as it starts to take shape. This is not a new game engine. I originally developed the game engine back in 1984 for a game Escape Zone on the TRS-80 Model 1. So it's an engine I originally developed over 30 years ago, and am now adapting it to the CoCo with higher resolution and colour. The game will have 4 distinct levels. Each level will be composed of 22 screens worth of scrolling background graphics. These will then repeat till all the required targets and objectives are met before moving on to the next level. Currently I only have 2 screens worth of repeating background, just so I can test the engine so far. The game will scroll the background terrain vertically down the screen as well as left and right to reveal a wider background area. Overlaid on top of this scrolling background will be the score display and 2 bar graph displays which indicate your craft's propulsion energy and fusion bomb energy. On beginning the game you will have no fusion bomb energy, and the idea being that you will charge it as you collect fusion energy in your travel. The fusion bomb is basically a powerful energy blast that disrupts all enemy craft around you and destroys them. I hope to have the blast working by my next blog, complete with sound effect. But enough of the rant, let's get started. Okay, here we go. Now, as you can see, the background is scrolling down the screen. In the top left we have the score, and for testing purposes I've just got it merely incrementing by 10 with every frame of the game, just so I can just see the numbers all work correctly. On the right hand side you can see 2 bar graph displays. The top one with a light green area is the propulsion energy I mentioned, and just below that indicating an empty fusion bomb energy level. Now notice your spaceship, you know what it looks like at the moment. The very nozzle of the ship looks a bit larger than normal. That's the fusion bomb. But at the moment, because we have no fusion energy, it's discharged, so you can't fire. As a cheat, I have made it so that if I fly my ship to the left, and here you can see the screen scroll, it will charge up the fusion bomb. So now look at the graph, it's fully red, it's indicating it's full. When it's full, the nozzle, the fusion bomb nozzle cone, whatever, starts to spin. So that's a graphical representation that when you're playing, as soon as you see the nose cone spinning, you know that your fusion bomb is ready to be fired. At the moment you can't fire it, but in the next blog hopefully I'll be able to just blow it and it'll flash the screen and make noises and all that sort of stuff. Another thing the ship does, if I thrust forward to go up the screen, you'll see there's a small flame on the back of the ship, and I can just fly around. I can go left and right to see the remainder of the screen. There's the extreme right edge, and I can fly over to the left and it'll go over to the extreme left. The overlay that I mentioned in the blog is currently, it's got the score in the bars on the right, and I can even fly my ship and it'll just move underneath the score and the bars. So it's all certainly well overlaid over the main graphics, even though the main graphics is can move around. The overlay plane sits in one place, and I can draw any graphics I want on that screen, and I just draw them in the same position each time, and that's where they appear, and that's where they'll be overlaid over whatever's happening in the background. And I don't have to worry about cleaning up the mess, worrying about whatever I print on that overlay gets scribbled onto the background, and I don't have to restore the background, all the usual stuff you would have to do when trying to create overlays on the CoCo. It's the engine does that all automatically. So that's basically not a lot to show, but it's certainly showing progress of the game, and more importantly that the graphics engine definitely works and is totally flicker free, is of a reasonable speed. It's not quite a 60 frame per second game due to the heavy block moves of memory that the engine requires. The coding to do the engine is actually very small. It's a very memory economical engine. It's very simple how it works, but it works by copying large areas of memory around, so that it creates this logical multiplanar graphics. So that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed that, and I have been on a bit of a programming roll, so I hopefully will be only another week away and I'll be able to do the fusion bomb, and you can all have a look and see what that looks like. But I'm happy with the results so far. It's pretty well exactly perfect as what I was hoping for. The speed was what I was expecting. The only thing I think might be something I'll have to play with is the colors. If you notice, when I fly my ship, that whatever colors my ship is, if I'm flying over the same colors, it tends to make areas of the ship disappear because they are the same color. So I don't know, I might have to just rejig some of the background graphics to differentiate it a little bit, but anyway, work in progress. So that's all for now. Thanks for watching. Are we back?
We are
Looks
back.
awesome.
Unfortunately, it didn't show on the. Hey.
That looks great.
Yeah. So did it come out all right? I mean, it didn't show up on the live chat screen. But
I watched on YouTube.
Yeah,
on YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube.
Unfortunately,
Okay.
we still haven't figured out how to get OBS to put that back into Zoom. So I can put the audio back in, but it's hard to put the video back in.
Right. No problem. Yeah.
I love the spinny.
The gun turret. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh well, as long as everyone was able to see it, I could run it in BCC and share my screen. But yeah, if you all saw it, that'll do.
You know, it went out on the stream. Okay.
Okay. Well, that's all right. Yeah. Oh well, that's about it. The next job is to actually get the firing and the sound effects for that going. Of which, mind you, I've done 90% of it already. I do have a version that does that now. So it'll only be a couple of days and I'll have the next blog update again. So I told you I was on a roll. So yeah.
I just want to mention, just to make this technical enough to qualify as a CoreDUMP, the demo you showed there actually has your FIRQ sound routine running with two voices.
Well,
it
does.
Sound playing.
Well, do you want to see a quick burst of the sound? I could share that screen. Okay, I'll share my desktop. So you're seeing a preview now. So let's see if I can just share that, and also the computer sound, of course, and hopefully my bandwidth is enough to show it off. So can you see that screen?
Yep.
Okay, I'll just run the game. I'll just speed it up a bit on. Okay, so that's the start. And then I'll go straight into the game. And okay, so that's coming up okay. Thumbs up, everyone, if they can see it and hear it. Yep. Yeah. Well, anyway, you saw this bit. And the firing now, I can fire and you hear the sound, but I haven't got the bullet. So is that coming out?
No. Oh, there we are.
There it is.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's the firing, but I have to do the actual firing. If I can cheat at the moment, if I fly over, it actually charges up the F-bomb. You can see. So now, and the gun turret's spinning. So if I launch the bomb, I launch that by pressing and holding the fire button down for about 3 seconds. So the game will support one button joysticks. A single tap will fire a normal laser. A long tap and hold will launch a fusion bomb, which is that. Did you see that flash at all? I don't know if it worked on the share. I'll do another one in case.
Yeah, we saw.
Yeah, so it just flashes it and does the sound effect like that. And of course, any aliens on the screen will all blow up at once. So it should hopefully look pretty impressive when they all go off. But yeah, that's what I've done so far. So I'll get the firing going, and then the next blog will be up.
Cool.
And that's it. That's how I wasted my time.
I think it looks great, Nick.
That's
Nick,
great.
if your plane gets hit, will it have a contrail? Have you thought of something like that, or it would be probably tough to do, huh?
If you what? Sorry. What'd you say?
Ron, I think Ron's saying when you get hit, will there be any damage to the plane?
Like a contrail coming off the tail of the plane, like a, like
contrail,
like a chemtrail,
like smoke.
Like smoke. Yeah,
a line of smoke.
It wouldn't be hard to do. That wouldn't be hard to do. But yeah, I hadn't really planned on that. No. You see the energy. Your energy will drop, on one of the bars. So that's how you know you've been damaged. But yeah, it would be possible to put little smoke puffs, I guess, when you're about to get blown up, when you're really bad. But yeah, it all depends on how much time I've got to add in all the aliens and whatever else.
Well, you have memory, right?
Oh, memory's not a problem, no.
Wow, which is weird to say, right?
Oh, I think
Didn't
the
used to be that
program's.
way.
I think the program's barely using maybe 128K at the moment. So.
No, it looks really good. I'm just waiting for the Nitrous 9 version to come out.
Runs and ducks.
And just another technical thing. I think currently, as it stands, the demo you showed us, that's the 6.309 only version with the TFM command.
Yeah. The game is for 6.309. I mean, I'd like to see if I can convert it to 6.809 at the end, but I suspect the only way to get it to run will be to take bits out of it. It'll be slower. So at this point, it'll be 6.309 only, and we'll see when we get to the end of it.
You're a pioneer.
So that's where people can start buying their 6.309s in time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, now the Chet's also working on a game that's 6.309 and 2 meg on top of it. That there's a couple of decent ones coming out.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And it's been very easy to code too. This one's, I mean, the graphics with the overlays and all that looks, it's pretty fancy, but the coding has actually been the easiest game I've done so far. It's very good. The engine really simplifies the whole sprites and overlays thing, which is what I was hoping for, because it does consume a bit of CPU time to set itself up, but I was hoping that we would see a benefit from it all at the end by ease of programming, you could say. And it has been. It's been really good. And it's been very compact as well.
Paul Thayer is saying in the chat there should definitely be some sort of indication you've been hit on Gunstar, perhaps even the ship flashing.
Yeah, well, the flashing will be easy.
Can you put sparklies coming off it?
Well, sparklies or the smoke that that Ron was saying, that wouldn't be too hard to do. But I would do that when you've been hit so bad that that you're, a few more hits and you're dead type thing.
The plane's disintegrating.
Yeah.
Is white a color you can use?
Is what?
Is white's a color you can use? Yeah.
Yeah, I've got those. Well, the 16 colors I've set up. Yeah, but I could use some sort of a dithering effect as well if I want to just
like a gray or something.
Oh, you dot it out, so it's so you sort of can partially see through it as well, like a transparent type effect, more like a fly screen effect, I guess, and just have smoke there. But there's a fair bit I can do, but the point is you don't want to use up all these cycles to do all these wonderful space of ship effects, and you don't have enough time to have all the aliens come on, because I do have plans to have a lot of aliens spinning on the screen and blowing up and whatever. So I guess it all depends on how much CPU time I've got.
Will these aliens have pear-shaped eyes?
I'm not sure. Haven't drawn them yet. Yeah, but that's it so far. That's Gunstar.
Actually, don't you have a graphic for Gunstar that shows the overlay with the alien behind that you did?
Yeah, that was a preview for special viewing. Yeah.
Secret artwork. Oh, okay.
No.
Secret artwork.
Did Popstar use that engine as well?
No. Only as I showed in the video, my old game Escape Zone used it.
Yeah, Popstar uses the hardware scrolling, and then two screens. You can do smoother scrolling than the hardware scroll normally.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can get more speed and all that using hardware, but the thing is, it creates other limitations as well. Because you're forced to work within those hardware limitations. For example, hardware scroll will do a full screen scroll, and it'll do it nice and smooth, and it'll do it nice and fast, but it's a full screen scroll. And any scores or any more static overlays I want to put on there, well, they'll scroll as well, unless you put more code in there to make up for that. It just gets more and more complicated the more you try to go beyond what the hardware is designed to do, whereas this engine is very flexible. It's not tied to the hardware at all.
So are you going to do like a Leisure Nighty Sally?
Leisure Nighty Sally, what's that?
Yeah, well, that's kind of like Leisure Suit Larry, only it's the girl version because you have an engine now. You just
mind you, that engine, that engine could do that very easily, but yeah, no plans on that.
Oh, but you are gonna do another game with the engine later?
Yeah, the engine could be adapted for other games. Yeah, although I'm not the type who keeps doing the same game idea. Although this one's a bad example. Escape Zone, then I did Cosmic Ambush, and now this. So you could say I've done it 3 times, or if it's evolved 3 times. But it's only because I like that type of mindless space shooting type action, I suppose. But yeah, I'll probably vary it a bit, and maybe I'll do a platformer next. But I can adapt that engine to use to work in a platform game. Obviously, I wouldn't need to scroll the whole screen. Then whatever, I don't know. It's
Leisure Suit Larry meets Rupert.
Well, Rupert is actually getting a rehash. Yeah, I won't say too much about that. That will be a bit of a surprise.
I was going to ask you: Are you planning on releasing the either the tile and/or map editor for Gunstar afterwards, so people can make their own?
Look, I can. I don't know if anyone's going to really find a use for it, other than what do they want to do? Just create, I suppose, their own graphics and all that. I mean, it's possible. I mean, they're just basic programs. You just have to run it. But you do sort of have to understand, once you've done the graphics, where do you put the graphics? So you've got to put it into the program, and it's not. It hasn't been designed to be a general purpose utility. It's been designed so that I can do the job. Yeah.
No, it's good. You've had a lot of progress in a very short time this last few weeks here. I mean,
yeah. No, I've had a bit of free time.
What do you call it? Garbage? I think with just the horizontal lines of color, just to show that the scrolling was working with the score. And then later you've got
the previous ones,
sound, and you've got sideways.
Well, you tend to spend a lot of time pre-programming. In other words, developing a lot of the parts of the game which are going to be needed, but you can't really see them in action until there's a lot of other pieces all brought together. The scrolling, I mean, you only saw garbage initially, but that's because there was no tiles in there. So I had to create some tiles, and then I had to create the map, because it doesn't scroll the tiles, it scrolls the map. The map is built from the tiles. So it's a bit of a chain. You have to do a fair bit of groundwork before you get the results. So now we're finally seeing the results. I created the sound routines. I created the graphics engine, but none of it could be really shown off until I got to a point where everything started to gel together. And that's what we're seeing now. Things are just gelling together, and they're actually quite quick to just put together.
So it's like building a ship, huh?
Well, I've never built a ship, but yeah.
I mean, there's all this stuff in the background you have to do before you can get it to go.
Well, I guess that's the case with everything, You're building a building. You've got to do a fair bit of construction, and it doesn't look like a building till a bit, later on, where you think, oh, that's a building.
Hey, Nick, I got a question for you. Does your new engine only go vertical, or do you have a way to make it move horizontal completely. I mean, not just like that little
It,
move.
it can be adapted, yes. The overall engine could go in any direction. It's just that the area of memory that I'm copying to do the move has been done to be vertical, because that's all I need. And you can actually see the horizontal when I shift left and right a bit. So
Right.
it is actually shifting a bit. But yeah, for a game like Popstar, which is all horizontal, it could have been created that way, but I've sort of designed it to be specific to Gunstar, because if I did it general purpose, it means there would have been a lot of redundant code in there if I don't use it all the functions. So basically, just trim it down to do just that, to get the speed, obviously. But yeah, if I do another game, it's the same engine. I just have to change some bits so that it copies the memory in different directions and whatever.
Nice.
It's not the 60 frames per second that I would have loved to have seen due to the memory copies that have to go on, but it's just the other advantages that I'm looking at.
Is it the dual playfield capability you're talking about? That
Well,
the Amiga has?
you could fool people that it is, yeah. It works very much like a dual playfield machine, like a machine that would have, like the Amiga has two separate, well, can have two or more, I think, playfields, and each playfield is independent of the other. That was one of the big things with the Amiga. So that's what this engine was basically trying to mimic. So once you got the engine done, then really programming it is as if that hardware does exist.
Yeah, it's the same thought process that Sockmaster does for Donkey Kong.
Yeah, just like like those transcodes. That's right. It's the same code, the Donkey Kong code, but he's had to provide extra code to emulate the hardware that code thinks it's talking to.
Yeah.
So effectively, that's what I'm doing. Yeah. Anyway, any other questions or?
There's a time to flush the CoreDUMP.
Yeah, it's probably time to hit that flusher. Okay.
But I do recommend the blog and everybody check it out.
Yeah, as I said, the chapter 11 blog is up there if anyone wants to see that video again. But I'll announce it on Facebook after the show.
And Paul Thayer is saying to eliminate the problem of the ship blending in the background, as you talked about. He would just outline the ship with black. And it's common practice, yeah.
Yeah, I did that, but the pixels, because it's such a lower res, I tried that. It really stands out. It's all right if it was a 320 by 200 res game, you could have a nice little fine black edge, but at the resolution that game's at, you got these big ugly black dots going all the way around it. So I didn't think it looked ugly. So I thought, okay, I'd rather just try and maybe play with the colors a bit better and change some of the colors so that they don't clash as much.
Paul is saying the Timberman, the resolution is the same and the sprites are all outlined, as an example. But I think you.
I'll have a look. Yeah, I did actually outline my spaceship, and I
think the thing with Timberman too, they're bigger sprites. Like your chopping character is quite a bit larger, so that it's not as blatantly
blocky.
Yeah, where you're doing a fairly smaller ship, so I think it would stand out a lot more in that. So it's just aesthetics. It's whatever.
It's also the first level is where you're flying over what's supposed to be like a Earth city. So you're viewing a city from the top, looking down on the streets and that. And there's a lot of grays and bright colors there, which are clashing with your ship. The later levels will be darker. I think the second level will be in space, so it will be more black. And the next levels will be on the alien homeworld. So I want to give that a bit more of a dark look. With that darker background, it doesn't. It's not so bad. It actually looks better with a dark black background. It's just on the first level where I've got a lot of brighter colors that the color is not. The ship is not. Is blending in with the background too much. So, I'll see how I go.
Hey, Nick,
At the moment.
I was just going to say, I think you got to start out with level 2 to give Steve a level of, did he achieve something?
Well, that's right.
I mean, it could just start with level 2 and go back to 1. It's just a number.
I was going to say, send it to Steve just like the way it is now.
Yeah.
This is the Steve Stroh version.
Well, this is meant to be a bit of a mindless blaster, so I don't think there's too much skill. Just a matter of how fast you can press the fire button, I guess. And Steve loves that, so I figured if Steve likes it and he can play it, then anyone can play it, I suppose. I don't know.
Are you going to publish a book of cheats?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ron.
A cheat.
Are you going to publish a book of cheats?
On how to play it, or actual real cheats?
No, so we can, have the machine gun go constantly or something, or to have the nuke bomb hit every time.
It's gonna fire fairly quickly as it is, so
we don't need to cheat.
I don't think so. You just have to slam that button as fast as you can, hopefully.
Now, one thing as far as cheats go, like one thing Chet did on his Digger 3s, he actually has it as you complete each level, you get a code that you can then punch in if you want to jump to that level in a later game rather than have to go through the whole thing again. Are you?
Yeah. I'll see. It all depends on how long the levels are. So,
Nick, you did a good job with the checkpoints in Popstar Pilots.
Yeah. It has the checkpoints. That's right.
I will tell you something funny. I played Popstar Pilot in my living room, and I got up once. I couldn't get to the computer, so it was just the level 1 was just going on without any input. And it was actually getting pretty far.
Level 1 is easy, actually. Level 1, if you fly to the right, go a bit more to the right.
Well, yeah, but I had just left it right there, and I was thinking, well, if Stevie just left it in the corner, he might actually get to level 2.
Yeah. If you stop there, you're safe. The only thing you've got to worry about is that you're going to run out of fuel. So as long as you come down every now and then to to collect fuel, that's it. Level 1 is done. And I've always said that level 1 is the easy beginner's level.
But the greed, it's the greed that gets you.
That's the thing. Balloon. It's the greed, and
Steve wants to shoot everything that moves.
He wants to shoot everything, which which is fair enough when you get good at it. But yeah,
you forgot that step.
Yeah, that's right. So really, level 1 is a beginner's level. Level 2 though is very hard. I should have made level 2 level 3 and brought level 3 to level 2 in hindsight, but well.
Yeah.
Hey, you see, like you're about to fall out of the sky there because you run out of fuel.
Yeah.
There you go. Down you go. Bam. So,
well, thank you, Nick, for again bringing more Amiga features to the Color Computer 3.
Okay.
Before we get too far, just out of curiosity, who on the panel is going to CoCo Fest?
I am.
Okay, so we got Curtis, Tim, Brian, Mike, and I guess that's it.
Tentative.
Mark Overholzer has his thumb up.
Well, he kind of stuck
Thumb
there.
is going.
You can ask Mark any question, and
there is ulterior motive for this question.
Mark, you sending me a check? Yeah.
And unfortunately, Bruce has already left, but he also gave us a video tonight to as an advertisement for CoCo Fest. I think before it gets too late, we should give that a look.
Let's
we should.
Just to let you know, same thing. You're going to hear the audio, but you're not going to be able to see it Unless you're going to watch on YouTube.
Absolutely. Well, the audience will see it. And that's
The audience
important
will
for
see it, yes. We will not.
The 31 sad souls watching.
Okie dokie. So we're going to run that promo, and then we'll come back. And I don't know what else we want to discuss at that point.
We can do some of the our sponsors and
maybe
go on from there.
Okay. All right. So here's Bruce Moore's. Unfortunately, he left already, but here's Bruce Moore's contribution to CoCo Fest.
The reading's growing stronger, Captain. Coming from a star system directly ahead.
CoCo Fest, make the trek to the place you belong. Illinois, Heron Point, make the trek, CoCo Fest.
CoCo Fest, May 4th and 5th, 2019 in Lombard, Illinois. Make the trek. Touch the heron.
Fascinating.
So, I thought that was pretty good myself.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yes.
And I was
that Bruce singing?
That is Bruce singing.
Oh, yeah. He's a professional singer, so.
I didn't know that. Good voice.
Yeah, Robin touched the heron. I thought that was funny myself too.
Don't say that I'm around the wrong audience.
You know what though? It's funny you should mention the. Yeah, you know what? I wish I didn't think of that. I don't have the sponsor screen.
No, that's okay. Actually, if Curtis or somebody doesn't mind to just, oh, you won't have it. Sorry. I can cue it up. We can keep going. We'll figure something out.
Okay.
Hold on.
You're talking about the sponsors for the show, the companies and stuff, you mean?
Yeah. I know. You know what? I don't have that slide. Or that's still...
I'll just read it off from an older CoCoTALK episode. I just have to cue it up. So I'll turn it over to Nick Marotta to stretch for time.
Oh.
This is a professional show.
No pressure or anything, Nick. Go ahead.
Nick, tell us about MAME.
MAME. I want to get MAME going this week with the CoCo stuff, so I want to be able to play. Watching Nick's video there, I want to play Popstar Pilot, and I'm going to want to play Gunstar when it's done, so I got to get MAME going.
Well, you know, Ron, how did you make out with your CoCo party the other night that you were updating? Did that work out?
Oh, it worked perfect. Yeah. It took, 15, 20 minutes almost to update everything.
Yeah, I think it was even a little longer than that. But
it might have been. Yeah. But yeah, everything's there and working. And I went back from the GUI to the CLI thing and it worked good. Yeah. It's working. Yeah. And you know what? I can go on errata.com or whatever it's called on that through DriveWire. And works pretty good. I was playing around with it.
Has Brett done the CoCo 3 version yet, or is it still CoCo 1 and 2 modes at this point?
Well, I used CoCo 2 on it. I think I should try the 3 on the CoCo Pi and see if it works. I haven't tried it.
Yeah, because I know he's talking about doing a CoCo 3 port, like using the high-res modes and stuff, but I don't know if he actually got that done yet. So
I tried it on my CoCo 3 using the DriveWire, I think, if I remember correctly. It came up to the Errata screen and stopped. It like froze or something. Maybe something he can fix. But it looked much clearer than the CoCo 2 version because of the fonts and all. And you're on RGB.
Right. Well, here is a professional show.
You got it.
So want to thank our friends at the CoCo VGA project, CoCoVGA.com. He's not here, but he is grumpy and he trolls us from the balcony. Richard Lorbieski and BoysOnTech.com. Have you got your 6309 yet? You can get it from boysontech.com. Speaking of trolls, Jim Brain and retro innovations for all of your retro needs. You can go to retro.com. Cloud9 Tech, you know Mark, you know Cloud9. Go and patronize his site, sdpack.com. The Switcheroo with CoCo Man, Jason Reichert, lets you go from RGB to composite with a flick of a switch. Roku, are we live on Roku, Ron Delvaux?
I can't tell you that, but most cases are, yes. How's that for nothing?
That's fantastic. Ron Delvaux in the booth, always watching. Executive producing. The retro swag, you can get your retro swag at 8big256.com. Mouse pads and all sorts of good stuff you saw earlier on the show. I'm CoConut.com. Does that site still exist? Yes, it does. That's Stevie Strobridge, the host with the most. And the CoCoCrew.org, the site that started it all, the podcast with the mostest. I was trying to say the hostess with the mostest. Exstructus Productions, FD501.com, and the I was going to call him the Leonardo DiCaprio of the CoCo community, but I meant to say Leonardo da Vinci. Ed Snyder. Men want to be him, women want to be with him. Ed Snyder at the zipsterzone.com, where you can pick up your Mega Mini MPI if it's in stock.
And the SDC.
Back to you.
Soldering irons fear him.
And sometimes ladies hold the hot part.
Only in commercials.
Yeah. Ouch.
Well, I don't know if we have anything. I'm out of ideas, Curtis.
I was just going to say, we're probably nearing the end of the show now because I think we've covered basically everything we wanted to cover. One thing I did want to ask, this is our second week of doing CoCoTALK at its nighttime time, and which is an experiment.
Wow. Yeah.
I just want to see, what does everybody think of it so far? We've had a couple weeks for people to get used to the fact the show has moved. I don't know if Mark's been monitoring or if any of you have been monitoring exactly how many viewers we had live on YouTube to see what the numbers were like, to compare it with when we had it during the afternoon in North America anyway. So just wondering what was feedback from you guys as far as having this permanently shift to the nighttime on Saturdays.
I like it.
Me.
It's perfect for my time.
Yeah, it's been fine for me. I'm just thinking we probably drop out all the European and English people, because for them it's like 12 midnight when the show starts. So I don't know whether we need to look at maybe putting the show an hour before, whether that's going to... yeah, so that may just allow some of the European audiences just to watch at least the beginning of the show.
Because I remember Simon mentioning it's something like 2 or 3 in the morning for him.
Yeah, well, that's right.
I mean, you're never going to satisfy everybody every time.
No, you're not. No, but I just thought whether whether the show is moved an hour, 2 hours is probably a bit much.
An hour isn't going to make much difference for European time, because it's still going to be really late. And,
how about rotating it?
Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest. Like, we don't have as many active. We have some active people in the community in Europe, but they don't. Even when we had it at a different time, they didn't too often show up on the show. So
it would be kind of nice if
or something we pop it into the daytime slot, or maybe once every 2 months or something. Like make it a schedule so that they know ahead of time that we're going to have an earlier show, so they can make it on easier.
Yeah, it would be kind of nice if we had some sort of regular, once a month or once every other month.
Whatever we decide, we should probably tell Steve.
For the Dragon News.
As soon as he starts hosting his own show, he might have a say in it.
Yeah, really.
Let's wait and see if he shows up.
Yeah.
We're getting lots of comments on YouTube that this is a good time slot.
Mark, did you get a chance to see what the viewership was like during the course of the show?
No, I haven't kept track. I know it's 26 right now. I've noticed
it was in the 30s for quite a while.
Was it? We started about
Yeah.
16, so excellent.
Well, I think if it's been up in the 30s, I mean, that's usually at the high end of what the daytime show is. So I think this time is lots of success. We're definitely getting more people on the panel.
That's Celsius or Fahrenheit.
I don't know if they're better quality people, but no, I'm just kidding.
During the day, during football season, I usually skip out, and during the night, I get here late, so it doesn't matter to me.
Well, we're getting more Australians. I don't know. I mean,
is that good or bad? I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah, so you are changing the times, eh?
I wonder if Ian Maverick knows about this show. He might be interested.
He knows about the show. He probably doesn't know about the time change.
Well, if he's on Facebook, he should know it because I mean, Steve is plastered all over the place, for 2 weeks running. The times changed, so and Breeza made it, so
Breeza made it, but yeah, it's a midday for us in Australia, so that's fine. Sunday for that matter, so it's fine. It's really just for the Europeans, for the Dragon users, say.
Yeah, and that's where I think having a show once a month or once every 6 weeks or once every 2 months or whatever, depending, and something on a fixed schedule, like say the second Saturday or second Sunday or whatever it is, just so that there's a fixed schedule that they can actually kind of plan on being on the show if they want to be.
Yeah, I guess we'll be having a before dark episode.
If you want more people from the UK,
after dawn. That's all.
After dawn.
If you want more people from the UK, you should rename the show Dragon Talk.
Hey.
Oh, we were talking about having a dragon segment if we could get enough people to come on. Now with the original time, it seemed to be a bit difficult. Now it's really difficult. So,
well, there are several of us on the call who own dragons.
Yeah, I would like to get the European perspective on that, since that's where it originated from, and plus they've got the Dragon Alpha and some of these other prototypes out that we never did see here. So it'd be nice to get them on.
I don't think those were ever sold. There are only maybe a couple.
No, they were prototypes.
Yeah. So you need to get the person that owns the Dragon Alpha to come on.
But there's also so much software development with the Dragon in the UK. There's hundreds of games that we never saw on the CoCo. I mean, some of them are starting to get ported over now. And even some business software and other things that I would love to be able to see and hear from the perspective of the people that actually used it back in the day. So I'd love to be able to have a show that is arranged that we can have them on at a time that's decent for them.
Sure.
So
yeah, I agree with Robert Sieg in the chat that Aussies actually make the game, so we set the time slots for them.
Is there a limit to the number of people who can connect on this Zoom channel?
If there is, we haven't hit it yet.
Pretty high. There is, but I think it's a couple.
Like 100 or something, isn't it?
I think it was 100.
It's pretty high.
Yeah, they have different tiers depending on how much you're paying for it. I think it's 100 for the tier we're on right now.
Yeah.
Didn't we have 20 on today?
Yeah, and we had more than 20 on last week too, I think, for a bit.
We had a brief sighting of Mr. Marty Goodman popped in.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, I saw that too.
For about 3 minutes.
Well, as long as he feels welcome. So we didn't scare him away too last week.
Well, maybe if we said his name more, like Mr. Marota.
Earlier.
It'll be great. It'll be great if we can get both Marty and Dennis on at the same time. That would be a great session. They talked about it on the interview with Marty.
All right, I'll call him. Last time I got him on.
That'll be executive producer Ron Delvaux's job.
Yeah, I'll see if we can twist some arms. Dennis just finished restoring a harpsichord or something.
Yeah, plus he was doing work at his house too. So.
And it's still winter in Vermont.
If we want to attract more dragon people to this show, we might want to spend a little time advertising over on some of the dragon forums.
Yeah.
I went to the dragon place and asked you guys, I said, you guys should come over on our show. I left a message for them on Dragon.
Yeah, and Stevie's advertising the show as to what time it is. I think we just have to actually start talking directly to them a bit and see if we can encourage them to come on. And if we do it on a set schedule, then maybe that makes it a bit easier because maybe they're not sure when we're on, etc.
What were you holding up, Mikey?
What's that?
Mikey, what was he holding up?
I don't know.
Something from Radio Shack.
Yeah, it's an old
Oh.
Archer package.
I was muted. I picked this up at some point. It's a joystick potentiometer.
Oh, interesting.
And it's basically the inside of a Black Beauty, but you could buy it as a separate part for grand total of what is it, $4 and something?
$4.49.
So, yeah, I ran across this today and thought you guys might like to see it.
Interesting.
Look what I ran across today.
It's
This cleaning kit.
Oh.
Yeah. Yep.
Any other finds or acquisitions this week by anyone?
I also found this 4-in-1 Infocom sampler.
Yeah, that's one of the ones I found in my collection too. I was going to upload it to the archive because I don't think it's actually on there.
But there's nothing on the CoCo side of the disc.
I have the CoCo version of it.
Yeah, it has the it's both sides. It's a weird looking disc. It has
Let me load up something here.
it has the CoCo is on the back side of the disc. If you can tell, you see it has it's the back side of the disc.
It's blowing out the sensor.
MS-DOS.
Can't see it.
Okay.
It's a single-sided disc, huh?
Yeah, it has no things on the side. What do you call them?
Notches.
Notches. Yeah, no notches.
So you can't read right to it unless you modify your drive.
Yeah.
Or pull punch
Yeah,
the.
But I wonder why it doesn't show up.
Because there's no index hole on the other side.
Is that why?
Take a look at the front of the disc.
Oh yeah, you're right. Well, no, yeah.
Got to use a hole punch.
Yeah, unless you have a double-sided drive, but I don't think they would have written it for that. So.
No, you need a flippy drive to be able to read the back side of that.
Okay.
But I do have a disk image of that I'll be putting in the archive eventually here once I
Cool.
finish my personal archiving, which is, I got a good start on it, then I got busy with other stuff for this trip, so I haven't been able to get back to it.
I have a flippy drive somewhere in the house. It used to be in the living room. I have to look for it.
Yeah, I have a clear plastic guide template. Yeah.
Yeah, that was one way to do it. And then I had a friend who made us a bunch of them out of metal. He used a piece of sheet metal, like aluminum or something, and bent it over. And it just fits on the corner of the floppy. And we used a little silver, not a regular pencil, but like a colored pencil, a silver colored pencil. And we'd mark our little holes, and then we just use a hole punch and punch them out. And then I even have one of those red ones that the Commodore people would use and the Apple people. Because the Commodore, you didn't need to punch the index hole, only the right protect notch. And I think the Apple was the same.
And I think the Apple did that too, give soft sector or whatever it didn't actually use the index hole.
Yeah, the Apple soft sector, so it's the Commodore.
Because on my Model 1, since they were single-sided mostly, and the original CoCo, before you could get double-sided drives for it, we did a lot of that. So a lot of my diskettes are double-sided. And we used to think we were pulling a deal by buying single-sided floppies and punching the holes to make them double-sided because we thought we were pulling the wool over somebody's eyes. But as it turned out, they made all the floppies the same way, and it was just a matter of when they verified the diskettes, did they verify them single or double-sided? And most of for the single-sided diskettes, they only bothered to check one side. They never even checked the back side. So it's like that old rumor that 32K CoCos had half bad 64K chips.
Can we talk about this stuff without David Ladd?
Is that allowed?
Somewhere.
Floppy talk after dark.
Oh, I just like to break things.
Yeah. We don't have that soundboard.
All right, I don't have anything else to talk about unless somebody else has some last minute story they want to bring up.
Well, I don't know. I found a box. I said last week I found a box of CoCo stuff and actually sold a few things out of it. So Mark bought my speech sound pack, and I sold my Disto RS232 pack. I forget to who, and he's going to use it to run a bulletin board on the CoCo. So that helps other people. And but I found it. But there was a joystick in the box, and I've been looking for over a year to try to find my joysticks. So I found a Black Beauty.
I got something for you guys. If you decide you want to start going online with your CoCo, there's CoCo BBS that I started, and you can find it on Facebook. And I've included a whole bunch of different items on there that pertain to getting online. Try it out.
Cool. Have you got any BBSs on there that are actually running on CoCos, or are they all PC style ones so far?
What do you mean? It's not a BBS. All it is, like I put some files up there. They have lists of BBSs you can go to and telnet to and stuff.
Okay, so it's a listing of BBSs you can get to.
It's info about going online, not so much about having a BBS.
Although
you could put that on there if you want to.
There is one telnet BBS that's running. That's up there. It's Neil Blanchard actually that has one. That actually runs on a CoCo.
Yep, he does. It's what's the name of it?
Internal Affairs.
Yeah, Internal Affairs BBS.com.
Now, is that actually being run on a CoCo?
Yes.
Yes.
Is it?
What software is he using?
I thought he was running it on a PC.
Yeah, I thought he was running on a PC too.
Thought that was his old BBS that he ran on a PC originally.
Well, then maybe I misunderstood, but I
just looked, and it was Neil Blanchard that bought the Disto pack from me, and he said he wanted to use it to run a BBS on a CoCo.
Oh.
I mean, there'd be no other use for it.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if that's the BBS he's running currently at this point, because I thought he was running a PC one too.
Well, I found a copy of Color 80 BBS, which was an old CoCo BBS, but I don't know how.
Yeah, it's the one Bob Rosen ran, wasn't it?
Well, okay, this is separate from his. He ran the Rainbow bulletin boards. He originally called his bulletin board Color 80, but then Lonnie got Bob to run the Rainbow bulletin boards, and we had 4 Model 3s in his dining room running the Rainbow BBSs using the TBBS software. But I mean,
I know there's multiple BBSs on the archive, like the AlphaSoft OSN Level 2 BBS, which is even multi-user where you can chat between users.
That's probably better. This was something written in RS-DOS, a very early BBS for the CoCo.
Neil's splash screen says Renegade MS-DOS BBS.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay.
So probably doesn't have the CoCo version up yet.
I do know somebody a couple months ago did briefly put one up as a test, and it did work through Telnet. It was running on an actual CoCo.
Is that Alan?
Might have been, yeah.
How do you know how, like if you were to start a BBS and you wanted people to telnet to it, do you have to talk to your provider to get them to have a channel opened like 23 so that you can have people come to it? How does that work?
Not in most cases. Usually the ports are open. The main thing is most people have dynamic IP addresses, so it might change. But if you use something like no IP, you can get it to dynamically update, so you can give it a domain name.
Yeah, it'd be much easier to do with a static IP. If you
well, for instance, I have hemigraphics.com. I can't telnet to my website there, can I? I mean, it doesn't.
Telnet server running on there in order for you
Right, that's the question I had. So, where does the telnet server come from? Your provider, or do you have to put it there?
It's a process that runs on the machine that does the host. So how do you host?
You'd have to run on your own machine. Yeah.
Yeah. So how is your website hosted? Is it a shared host?
It's on Google or on GoDaddy.
GoDaddy. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So it's probably a shared host.
You just have to add server.
So I have to go to GoDaddy and have them add the software for my cubbyhole?
If it's a shared server, yeah. If it's a virtual server where you have control of it, you can put on whatever you want.
They'll charge you for it.
Yeah, probably. But
they might not let you because Telnet's insecure. So.
Yeah. Hey Ron, have you had any problems with GoDaddy with their email?
No, I don't have any email through them.
Hmm.
No, don't do it.
I host my band site through them, and their email just does not work at all.
Huh.
And
Well-
from what I found out is there's a lot of the other ISPs that are actually blocking GoDaddy's email servers because they're full of spam.
Oh. Jeez. I've had GoDaddy since day one, way back. And I moved out here and then I realized that they were here. I was surprised.
So Steve Bjork's not with us tonight, is he? I was hoping to catch him. Years ago, when I moved to California, I joined a fairly large CoCo group in Southern California. Steve used to come to some of the meetings, and once he announced that if you had an original Sands of Egypt disc, to bring it to the next meeting, and he would put music on it. So I did that. Unfortunately, I sold all my CoCo stuff years ago. So when you load up the game, it actually plays music for about, about a minute and a half or so. And I haven't been able to find that online anywhere. I wanted to ask him if he had a recording of that music. I'll have to try to catch him the next time I can make it, because I don't think anybody I've asked has never heard this, so it might be pretty interesting for folks to hear.
Yeah, that would be neat.
Yeah, if he still has it, because he had some of his stuff stolen from the storage unit years ago, so some stuff he's lost himself.
Oh, no.
That's bad. One time he was talking about equipment he used to program on, which was an interesting thing to hear.
Talking about that CoCo 3 repack that he had in the PC case.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the one that got stolen.
Yeah, that's what got
That
stolen.
was one of the things that got stolen, and it had the source to a lot of his games on it.
Oh, no.
Jeez.
Because it had like a hard drive in it.
And that was way before they had all of these version control systems in place. Way before.
Yep.
You know, I wondered about, the source to games like that. You would think that if he did stuff for different game companies or even Tandy, that they would have copies of all that stuff.
Some of them would, but I mean, Steve did sell a lot of his stuff through SRB later on, like his own company, basically. So, some of the stuff from Datasoft and stuff, yeah, they might have. Mind you, Datasoft's not around anymore either, so I would have no idea what happened to their source code.
Yeah, but even Out Loud said that the Sierra didn't keep copies of the source code.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because he was trying to sell the source that he just took from them, and then they kind of got the lawyers on him and said no.
What was this? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
What was the small screen you had, Mike?
Oh, so I found this my parents' house. This is a pocket television, and I have it hooked up to the Dragon. This isn't the software I want to demo. I can't get it to load. But
Flappy Bird or whatever the clone was.
Flagenbird, yeah. It doesn't play that well with the keyboard. I just keep dying. But it's a 3-inch screen.
Can't get past level 1.
That's your pro emulation.
I wanted to show a different demo.
It's a Radio Shack
it won't load.
So maybe Stevie Stroh telnetted into your game there.
That's a great idea.
It's kind of like, I'm playing a game on a 3-inch screen.
Mikey, hook that up to your MC10. It's the perfect screen for him.
Okay.
Not the right size.
There you go. Tiny screen for a tiny computer.
Sure,
I actually got one of those.
No, it's actually bigger than the MC10, so it's no good.
No Velcro or Retro Pi to it, and a Raspberry Pi to it. And you have a portable CoCo.
I have a small screen that opens up like a clamshell, and you look in at the mirror to see the screen. It's way back, old.
Sure that isn't a makeup compact?
It's a Casio. Yeah, it
like
looks
the video
like
game cabinets with the mirror. They have the
Yeah.
CRT at an angle.
Yeah.
I had TVs based on that years ago.
Yeah, actually, if you look at the
Projection
TV
TVs.
inside, it's backwards.
At Zebra, we had one of the Sinclair little TVs, and we hooked it up to a Timex 1000. We thought that was very apropos.
Did anybody ever hook up their TV to one of those large screen curved ones with the 3 large red, green, and blue guns?
Oh, like an old projection
Front
screen.
projectors.
Yeah.
Projector.
Those things would put off some heat.
Oh yeah.
And
I saw an Amiga hooked to one at a bar. They had it was displaying pictures of the patrons.
Yeah.
That's the only one I've seen.
Well, that was that Laserdisc. They actually had that in the arcade. There was a Laserdisc game called Mad Dog McCree. That was a projection screen. And it ran on an Amiga 500 hooked to a Laserdisc player.
There's a video up on YouTube of some guys at a football stadium were playing video games on the big screen up on in the stadium. It looked pretty funny.
Oh, cool.
I heard about that. They were playing Super Mario Kart.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're flying over a helicopter and they're videoing these guys playing video games.
I was playing my CoCo on our church's 10-foot by 18-foot screen. It was awesome. It was really cool. I put it up ease of use on it.
A few years ago, I posted a message. We have a mailing list in our neighborhood, and I posted a message to see if anybody had any old computers that they wanted to get rid of, hoping I could score either a CoCo or something really good. And one lady replied that she used to be an Amiga employee, and she had an old Amiga system she didn't want. So I went over, picked it up, and it was boxes of floppies. I think it was a 500. One or two floppy drives, a mouse. I don't remember if it came with a monitor, but anyway, just for a simple email, it was a pretty good setup, and it had an add-on cartridge, RAM cartridge, that you plugged into the side, kind of like the CoCo ROM pack, but it was to expand the RAM on the Amiga. And on that cartridge was the social security number of R.J. Michael, who was one of the, I forget, he was one of the designers of the Amiga, not the Amiga, I think it was the OS. He was one of the coders. So she told me that, and she said, look, this actually belonged to RJ. So anyway, I scraped that off because, there's no point in getting that thing circulated around. And then I ended up donating it. I plugged it in, it worked, it booted. A lot of the discs didn't work, which makes sense. But I donated it to a local Amiga group. So that was pretty cool, having a real piece of Amiga history with, there.
Those RAM expansions were called sidecars.
Okay, thank you.
It might also have been a hard drive, depending.
Yeah, some of them had the hard drive and the RAM expansion in the same room.
Right, in the same unit.
It fit on the left side of the machine.
It's basically the same connector on the right side of a 1000. It's just upside down.
Yep.
Oh, interesting.
And now they have accelerators you can plug into there that kick an Amiga up pretty good. And it has, well, it's not an Amiga chat, but there's so much cool stuff that they're putting on.
The fastest ones I've seen is the Vampire, and it fits internally. Yeah,
right, the Vampire.
It plugs into the CPU.
But individual computers has one called the ACA.
Yeah.
And the 12 is something that puts in the side, and it gives you the equivalent of a CoCo SDC. It upgrades the OS. You can have different OSs and select them from a menu. It's really neat what it does. It has a lot of neat. It almost totally transforms the computer into a new, more modern machine.
Did you guys see my cryogenic CoCo? It went up to 500 megahertz in my mind.
Yes.
In your mind.
Does that have anything to do with legalizing weed in your state or something?
Could be.
More like peyote, Arizona.
Yeah.
No, I said in the chat earlier that should be one of Coco Man's next products is a weed-based peripheral for the CoCo, so that you can see 256 colors.
Ah, I missed that.
Yeah.
What would we call it, though? I guess it would have to have an Australian name.
The Ramaroo.
Okay, I better be off, guys.
Yeah, well, I think the show's pretty well wound up anyway. We're just kind of chatting at this point.
All right.
We might as well get the official outro.
Yeah.
Well,
all right, then. I'll see you next week, eh?
All
Yep.
right.
All right.
Bye, Nick.
You want to do
All right.
You want to do
See you later.
Thanks for the
Bye.
demo, man.
No
Bye,
problem.
Nick.
Bye.
Bye, Nick.
You want to do a quick break, and then we'll do parting thoughts and
Yeah.
do the guys who've been in chat and all that.
Got to
Tom,
play
do
the
you have
outro for a half hour.
Do you have the outro?
Yeah, because we're already at 3 hours right now, aren't we?
Yeah.
3 hours.
Yeah.
All right, we'll do another commercial break, and then we'll be back for parting thoughts.
All right.
Okay. Hi, it's Ron Delvaux, Timberman, and this is CoCoTALK.
In a world where RGB produces black and white video, one cable can make a difference. Switcheroo. CoCo3ScartCable.com.
Some people have big plans after school. You know what Elliot's going to do? Jeff, too. Elliot's at work on a book report using scripted on Radio Shack's Color Computer 3. It hooks up to his TV. And Jeff's at his Radio Shack Color Computer 3 playing the newest football game. But wait, what's Elliot doing playing New Super Pitfall? And Jeff's having a blast with a new math tutor. You never know what you might try with more than 100 programs for fun and learning. Radio Shack's Color Computer 3 comes with everything you see here. Other items each sold separately. Only at Radio Shack.
We now return you to CoCoTALK.
I tell you, if Elliot's parents knew what he was actually up to.
Demo that I wanted to play earlier. Naya and Cat.
Can't hear the sound.
There it is.
That's funny.
It's really colorful.
Sorry.
That's why they call it the color computer.
Yeah, that actually runs on the CoCo 1 and 2 in the Dragon, too, that particular demo. It's not even CoCo 3.
Oh, I'm running it on the Dragon.
Yeah.
I had to do, man. I should stop this thing and keep watching it. It's gonna drive me insane. Okay, bye.
Time in your house.
Be entertained.
Aren't we all, though, right? Because we're all here. Aren't we all easily entertained? Bunch of simpletons.
We're playing all the same games we played hundreds of times.
Uh-huh.
Oh, we got new ones coming out. I mean, look at all the ones that Paris are at and them are doing. I mean, you've got 70 new ones for us to play now.
That's right. And they all work on the Dragon. So we've got something in common.
What was the name of the Robotron game for the CoCo?
Robotech.
Yeah. So...
Robotech's one. There's another one, too, a more obscure one. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
Yeah.
There was two.
Robotech wasn't quite a perfect clone. It had graphics that looked the same, and the gameplay was similar, but like the
indestructible Hulks weren't indestructible.
Yeah, the Hulks weren't indestructible.
Yeah, so when I moved to California, I stayed with some friends for I think 3 or 4 months while I was looking for a job, and I got the people who were hosting me, my friend, hooked on the game. But what we did is, because it needed 2 joysticks, one to move the shooter, one to move the man. So he and we each took a joystick, and we started playing the game that way, the tag team. That was a lot of fun. Took a lot of different kind of coordination though, because you were used to doing it, with both joysticks.
Yeah, that was duplicating the arcade because the arcade used the 2 joystick thing too. So.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite arcade games.
Yes, I agree. Me too. Almost got 1 million on it once. Whoa. I had one in the arcade where I worked. I used to play it all the time.
I actually got the source code to that.
I suppose that's one benefit of the emulators is when you get tired, you can just save the state and then continue later where you left off.
Yep.
At the Amiga and Commodore 64 emulator, you can save your state. I was talking a little bit about that with Chet Simpson, see if we could implement that in future versions of VCC.
Somebody needs to save New York State.
I would just to mention here, I just found it on my webpage, but the other Robotron clone was called Cyborg Wars from Bumblebee Software. It was a mode 1.
Who made the first one, Robotech?
Intracolor.
Anybody remember?
Oh. Intracolor, yeah.
Intracolor.
Cyborg Wars was by who?
Bumblebee Software. It's actually on my game site if you want to take a look.
Tom, we don't have the official outro, so that this is the closing period, right?
I have the outro for the show. I do have it.
Okay. Do we want to play the outro and then we'll
Closing.
come back for final thoughts?
All right, if you want, you want to do it backwards? Okay.
I think that's how we usually do it.
That's
right?
how we usually do it.
It's the never-ending show, so we always come back.
Then you guys know more about this than I do, and it's funny because I watch it too. But I don't know. Maybe Paul Thayer's right where he made the comment about going to sleep before. All right, hang on.
Just go with the flow.
This concludes another episode of CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color Computer. For all things CoCoTALK, visit us on the web at CoCoTALK.live. We'd love to hear from you. Send feedback, suggestions, even segments via email to CoCoTALK@CoCoTALK.live. Consider supporting the show with a purchase of merchandise from our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com. If you'd like to become a patron of the show, click on the Patreon link on our site at CoCoTALK.live. CoCoTALK would not exist without the community and its cast and crew. Thanks go to Curtis Boyle, David Ladd, Mark Overholzer, Grant Leighty, Bruce Moore, Nick Marentes, Ron Delvaux, Rick Adams, Jason Reichert, Richard Lorbieski, Jim Brain, Karen Anscombe, Simon Jonason, and many, many more. Special thanks to Steve Bjork for production suggestions and to Brian Joyce, Ken Reichert, and Rob Inman for all of their bonus content and contributions, as well as Roger Taylor for getting us on the CoCo TV channel on Roku. Please help support the CoCo community by visiting some of its contributors. The CoCo Crew podcast at CoCoCrew.org. Glenside Color Computer Club, host of CoCo Fest at GlensideCCC.com. Jim Brain and Retro Innovations at go4retro.com. Tandy Assembly at tandyassembly.com. Boyson Technologies at BOYSON-tech.com. Get your own switcheroo and wallaby cable at cocoman.biz. Cloud9 Technologies at cloud9tech.com. CoCoTALK is hosted by Steve Strobridge. Co-hosts, technical directors, segment hosts, and producers Curtis Boyle, David Ladd, Grant Leighty, Mark Overholzer, Ron Delvaux, and Jason Reichert. The CoCoTALK theme song is copyright 2008 by D. Bruce Moore and Greg Sheeler. Mixed, mastered, and produced by D. Bruce Moore.
CoCoTALK forever.
And we're back.
And we're back. I want to thank some of the folks in the live chat since our last update. We've got the Nick Marotta, Mark Overholzer, Bill Noble, Fedor Steeman. We've had some funny comments. Ken Reichert, Rob Inman, Ken Reichert, Nick Marotta. Paul Thayer had some good comments. Thank you, Paul. Adam Coolidge, Eric Canales, talking about dithering and translucency. Curtis Boyle, Paul Thayer. Local Studio says, do it live. If you couldn't tell, that's what we're doing. And then there's a lot of touching of the heron. Thank you, Cranky65, Robert Sieg. And if I didn't find you in the chat, thank you as well, anyone else that joined. On the panel, Al Joyzy Hartman. Al, have a good night. Bill Noble, James Diffendapper, And oh, I don't have my soundboard. Here we go. It's not working. I don't have it on. But you'll hear a train soon enough. Tim Franklin, thanks for joining. Tony Cappellini. Mike Furman. Brian, thank you. Mark O. Mark B. Ron D. Nick Marotta, our engineer, Tom C. And last but certainly not least, L. Curtis Boyle.
Good night, everyone. Though I do have the other alternative Robotron screenshot up if you want to take a quick look.
Cool. Yeah, that's another 30 seconds.
Yeah. It never ends, so I have to continue.
Do you need a screen share?
Somebody will get
Curtis?
a play.
Yeah, please.
Watch a demo.
Tom, do you have the opening to CoCoTALK after dark?
No, I don't have that yet.
Okay.
I mean, isn't this the point where we talk about what time after dark's going to be?
4 a.m.
Sometime later, yeah.
Wars, the worst color mode they could have chosen.
Yeah. Yet, ironically, it used the 2 joystick controls, but it did actually have indestructible hulks where you couldn't destroy them. So it was actually closer in gameplay to the original arcade.
Cool. Did it have brains?
I think it did on the later levels. I mean, that's what, the 3rd or 4th level, I think, of the arcade?
Yeah, something like 3 or 4 levels in.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah, it's a bit of a rare one. I don't know if that one's up in the archive or not.
CoCoTALK 2084.
Well, if the show goes on any longer, we'll meet that date.
CoCo Fest.
All of our great-grandchildren will be running the show.
I also forgot to thank Rick Adams, as well as Dr. Martin Goodman, and who else was on earlier that
Bruce D.
popped
Moore.
up?
Bruce
Moore. How could we forget?
Yeah.
I changed my name to W. Rondo.
We also had Coco Man was here. Grant Leighty was
Thank you.
here.
Grant Leighty was
Used it
here.
for a bit. Stevie Strobridge.
Stevie Stroh.
Grant Leighty, some guy named Stevie Stroh.
John Laurie.
Oh, yeah.
John Laurie, thank you.
Yeah. And I would also like to take the time again to thank everybody on the panel for, again, taking care of the show and making this relatively easy for me to do. Special thanks to Rob for helping host and Curtis for co-hosting and taking care of the news. It just makes it easy for me to do this when I have to. You know what I mean? So I do appreciate it.
Thank you, Tom.
Job.
Thanks.
Good job, guys.
Good night, everyone.
All right.
All right, press the button.
You bet.
Night, John Boy.